the sound of your boot heels leaving. That's the way it's got to be. Memories and mistakes just keep repeating. Didn't need your company.
Hello, and welcome to the Reel Unknown Cinema Podcast. I'm your host, Shane, and with me, as always, is the retired co-host, who is now the special guest star on every single episode, Kyle.
Hi.
And with us today, we have a special guest, everyone's favorite, Maya the podcast dog.
Hi, I'm Maya the podcast dog.
Oh yeah, and Will's here too.
Yeah,
so.
you might know me on my earlier works of The Strongest, where I did scene design, general story art direction, the script, and the storyboards for the first four series.
For the first four series, the originals
really dropped off.
The Beat Buddies and what was that? Fucking Z Nation or whatever the fuck that was called. 7 Days to Die.
Yeah, Z Nation. I love when A to Z start with Z.
Yeah.
That's fucking sick, dude.
Anyway, yes, this is technically a Strongest reunion episode because we got
Unfortunately.
Yeah, seriously.
Well, Kyle is playing on his DS, so this is technically we're talking.
Strongest. I'm all the way up to F now, guys. Fire Emblem.
That's my favorite cup size.
Good. So we're off to a great start today.
Yeah.
And speaking of cup sizes, we got a movie that.
No, there's no real segue here. I don't think we can do it.
Well, there's a woman in this movie who shows off her cup size.
That is true.
Today, we are talking about the 2007 classic, probably most popular film we've ever talked about on the show.
It's not really
unknown, like,
but it's interesting enough.
Yeah.
We thought, let's bring it up.
Exactly. Like, this is kind of like a solo one where we just decided to go off the rails and do a big blockbuster. So we today are talking about the fan going off.
That was perfect timing.
We're talking about Cthulhu from 2007.
Yeah, you already know about it.
Everybody
right?
knows. Yeah,
this
Cthulhu.
Is just kind of.
I like how much setup there is for it because you're definitely not going to put the title of the movie in the title.
No one knows what the fuck it's going to be, so.
Yeah. I know, it's just like. We always do like this 45-minute elaborate setup to say the name of the movie. It's like they already know. They fucking clicked on it.
Well, maybe they're blind and maybe they're just kind of clicking.
If they're blind, they probably wouldn't stick around for fucking as long because it's just dumb shit.
Yeah, well, blind people are very impatient, so they're like, fuck, I got better things to do with my time.
The writer sold their house and I think refinanced something else in order to actually afford funding for the movie.
That sounds very real.
That's how big of a budget
that's a pretty big budget if you'd ask me. That
sounds
auction
pretty
scene
real, but also pretty unknown.
There we go. Perfect. That auction scene was actually just real footage of her selling all her belongings to fund the film.
Yeah.
So anyway, guys, today we're talking about Cthulhu, which is a film that we've all seen before, but now we've seen twice.
So nice we saw it twice.
Well, let's. Oh, dog doesn't want me to keep scratching him.
No, they want you.
No. What do you want?
They're just
you want
shaking
shake?
over and over again.
All right.
Good girl.
Good girl.
Good girl, Maya.
Anyway, so this film we watched 2 years ago? 1 year ago?
1 year ago.
1 year ago to this very day.
That's not true. But it's not too far off either.
Okay. Because our special guest Will recommended it 1 year ago.
I did recommend it 1 year ago. That is true.
Go ahead.
I've always been a big fan of Lovecraft.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty fucking gay.
It's kind of the opposite.
I mean, yeah.
We'll get back to that in a second. I've read a lot of Lovecraft stories, certainly all the main ones. Mm-hmm. And, so also being a fan of suspense and horror films, I thought I should look up some Lovecraftian horror films. Mm-hmm. And what I found is that there aren't a lot that are actually passable.
No, not really. There are about two, and we've seen both of them.
Yeah, and one of them is hardly passable.
Yeah.
There's a couple other that seemed okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's just a couple fucking what's that show called, dude? X-Files episodes.
Ah, yes.
That pretty much could be Lovecraft.
There's
Like the lizard one.
What's
What?
the lizard one? I didn't
The
watch.
were-lizard.
Oh, wizard. I thought you said wizard.
I thought you said wizard too. I'm like, is
DJ Slizzard doesn't
have a butt?
There's actually one that came out recently called The Endless, which I would say is actually pretty good.
Is it?
It's a lot more inspired by, like, unlike this film where it definitely is very directly taking a lot of work from it. It's a lot more kind of just inspired by, but I think it does a pretty good job of kind of getting that feel down.
Interesting, yeah.
While also kind of like telling a different story. But that's not the movie we're talking about today. Today, we're talking about the movie fucking Cthulhu.
Now, interestingly, with Cthulhu,
Yes.
it has nothing to do with
Cthulhu. No, it doesn't.
It is actually a near-scene... It's an incredibly faithful adaptation of The Shadow over Innsmouth.
Mm-hmm.
There are some very obvious changes to many things, which we'll get to in a second.
Uh-huh.
But in terms of the arc, it has all of the key scenes in it. You know, it has... Do we do spoilers?
Yes, we definitely do.
Okay,
So,
spoilers, good.
I mean, the implication, especially for this movie, is that you need to watch the movie before we talk about it, but
Yeah.
you won't. So just be ready to get spoiled all over.
We won't talk about the ending, though. I think the last scene...
We will talk about the ending, but we'll save that till kind of the end of the episode.
Okay.
So.
Okay. All right. All right. Fair.
But no, go spoil as much as you want.
Okay, so it keeps the format of The Shadow over Innsmouth pretty faithfully with, you know, guy goes to small town, things seem kind of weird, people are a little fishy, some would say. Meets a drunken, like, hobo guy who's the only person who knows the truth anymore. Things start to get shady. There's a festival and there's a bunch of violence. It's never really explained. It's just implied that it has to do with the cult. That's the backdrop of it. And then they tries to escape. And they don't escape. And then...
some stuff happens.
Yeah, we'll get there at the end.
I would like to point out that we have some Krispy Kremes reading for snacks.
Hashtag not spawn.
And I am eating, like, what looks exactly like a Simpsons donut.
I made
we're
that
aware.
joke.
Okay,
we've done
nice.
that.
Because it's
They're pretty good.
It is
They are pretty
straight
good.
up a Homer Simpson
Yeah.
donut, though.
I feel like going dope when I eat it.
Yeah, we also made
We
that
made
joke.
that joke already. So.
Alright, guys.
You
Dab.
couldn't see we were all dabbing as hard as possible.
We were pretty... even the dog was dabbing pretty hard.
So, the big... I guess... No, it's not a twist in
You
the
said
film,
big.
but
The cat.
the real change that the creators of this film made is that the main protagonist of Cthulhu is gay.
Yes.
And it is almost first and foremost... I don't really know how to say that phrase. Well,
First and foremost.
there we go.
Nah, you got it.
A gay film?
Yeah.
Like, it just kind of is a gay film. And it takes The Shadow over Innsmouth and turns it into a story that is an obvious metaphor for just someone being gay from a small town.
Yep. Pretty much.
That's literally what the film is about.
I wouldn't even say half the time it's a metaphor.
It's
I'd say
literally
just
actually
about
not a
that.
metaphor. It just is about...
being gay in a
It's
small
just,
town.
I would say that half of the film is about being gay in a small town, and the other half, all the Lovecraftian stuff, is used as a metaphor for being gay in a small town.
100%.
Which is something I really love, because for those of you who might be more familiar with Lovecraft's works, you'll know, or for those of you that aren't, you'll find out now that are really racist. Pretty much all of them are about how Lovecraft hated minorities.
To be fair, they deserved it.
Please don't say that. In fact, Lovecraft was a really, really terrible human being for the most part.
Really true guy.
I'm not going to say in his defense, but he was severely mentally ill. He had a very rough childhood.
Really, what happened in his childhood?
His dad died when he was 5 because he killed him. I think because he killed himself because he was schizophrenic.
Yikes!
And
that's
then his
not fun.
mom, like 2 years later, just went insane and went to a mental hospital.
Yeah,
and he's kind of like lived on his own or some shit.
Not a good time, is it?
Member of the Nazi Party.
Ooh. Okay.
All
Wow.
been there.
At least heavily sympathized with it.
All right.
Just a bad person, but.
And
And his works are a reflection of that.
yes.
The Shadow over Innsmouth being no exception.
Oh, yeah?
It is about how awful these... Another thing that Lovecraft disliked were people he kind of deemed less intelligent, less educated, less... you could argue less pure than himself. And The Shadow over Innsmouth isn't necessarily directly about minorities, but it is about these small town, uneducated hicks, kind of, or anyone Lovecraft thinks would infect the general population, maybe, would make things possibly racially impure in some regard.
Maybe it sounds like taking a little of a JonTron.
Yeah, a bit of a 1930s JonTron.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. I didn't know that. I've vastly admired the aesthetic and the ideas, but I've, like most people, never actually read any of his books.
Yeah.
So, I'm gonna defer to you for being kind of the guy who knows it all.
And I do really love the fact that this is a gay film, because it takes that power, the hate of Lovecraft. It takes that away from it. You know, kind of reclaims the good aspects of Lovecraft, which are the suspense, the horror, and the overall kind of story designs.
Versus horror.
But takes away the aspects that are just, oh yeah, this is racist or hateful. And so I really love that about the film, that they have the thought to say this is something we could do.
And because it's clearly done out of like a lot of love, because it seems like it's borrowing from though mostly a remake of the one book, it seems like it's borrowing a lot of different... Whoa! What do you got to say there, Maya?
Sorry, Doggo got bonked.
Doggo got bonked a little bit. It seems to be borrowing a lot of different stories in a little bit.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing about it, which I was talking about with Kyle after we watched it last night, was how it really, attempts to draw together a lot of aspects of the Lovecraftian mythos into one cohesive thing, which Lovecraft himself never actually did.
No, it seems like to me that I can understand that Lovecraft almost kind of created this almost kind of shared universe.
That was actually his goal. That he wanted it so just anyone could use it.
Okay.
Nothing was supposed to be clear because that wasn't the point.
Yeah. But at the same time, I think, honestly, I think that's why the title Cthulhu kind of actually really works, because it almost sort of embodies the idea.
Yeah, it's just kind of interesting because of how much it is also just literally the Shadow over Innsmouth. It's like, okay, there are elements of other Lovecraftian stories in it, and you're like, okay, so Cthulhu kind of makes sense that way, but it's also just like, this is almost scene by scene a recreation of the Shadow over Innsmouth.
Excuse you, Rivermouth, I believe it's called.
Yeah, Rivermouth.
In the original book, is there a specific area it takes place? I'm assuming just Europe?
No. All of Lovecraft's stories are set in either the Appalachian or the Northeast.
Okay.
Where Lovecraft lived.
Oh, interesting.
Yep.
And this one was set in the Northeast?
Northwest.
Okay.
Yeah, the little switch.
Yeah, set in Oregon.
But they both have Portlands.
What?
Portland, Maine. That was it.
Oh, okay. I actually think one of the things that really works is how they, especially for working with the whole small town, being gay in a small town kind of thing, it works very well that they kind of translate it pretty seamlessly to Oregon, or kind of seaside sort of fishing village.
Yeah, it's very reminiscent. It's the Northwest or the Northeast.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a small fishing village where the industry's kind of died, and maybe you should do a cult about it.
Maybe, I don't know. It seems to help. So
yeah.
So anyway,
get more fish that way.
Apparently they do.
Apparently you can get more fish that way.
So this movie starts out with a phone call. This guy in LA or San Francisco. It kind of looks like San Francisco, to be honest. That opening shot.
It's actually I believe it's supposed to be Portland.
Oh, okay.
Because he works at Cascadia University.
Oh, okay.
And whether or not that's a real university, though, I'm sure there is a university called Cascadia.
Sure.
that is a reference to the North. It could be Washington. Could it be Washington? The Cascades go all the way up there?
Maybe?
Because the Cascades are a mountain
Yeah,
range.
that's a mountain range.
Yeah, and so Cascadia is a reference to the whole area.
Okay, that makes more sense. But anyway, it's kind of more of like a big city.
Yeah, it's a
kind of
city.
living in.
Like,
Yeah.
it could be LA, it could be SF, it could be Seattle, it could be Portland.
So then he...
It could be Eugene. Shout out.
Hell yeah, Eugene. The biggest city.
Yeah.
The biggest little
pizza,
city.
though.
Yeah. I never meant. I always meant to take a little trip up to Eugene to visit.
Eugene is one street.
Really?
It's a pretty good street, though.
Yeah.
What's
But
on
it
this?
is one street.
What's on the street?
Fucking college shit.
College shit?
Tracktown Pizza.
Sounds like a good pizza place.
It's actually a really good
And
pizza
then like
place.
50 motels.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
And then a bunch of places for college kids to go.
Pay by the hour motels?
And then
Oh,
on
no.
the left side
Damn.
of that,
Uh-huh.
you have a bunch of housing, and on the right side of that, you have a bunch of homeless people.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And that's Eugene.
It's a pretty good town.
Sounds like fun. Anyway, so he gets a call that his mom died. And you kind of... I think this movie does a very good job of with a very short, really one scene, kind of illustrating his life, kind of in
Yeah. Yeah. He just, the opening scene is he gets a phone call.
Mm-hmm.
He answers it.
Mhm.
That there's a guy in his bed who asks if he can get $20.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like he just tells whoever he just had sex with. It's unsure if it's like his partner. You assume it's just kind of like maybe a student, probably. Like it seems to be
Yeah.
younger than him because he's like not middle aged, but he's like kind of late 30s,
Late 30s, for
early
sure.
40s.
Yeah.
Around. So he's kind of in this sort of like loveless relationship with this guy who doesn't really care. So he kind of decides he goes up to try to get to the funeral. And so he drives up to this kind of small, nowhere fishing village. And on the way, a car passes by, shouts at him that he didn't think he could get away, but he never gets away.
Yeah.
And the car crashes, and he finds this dog really likes being pet. Car crashes, and then he gets a little late. He gets to the wake. Misses the funeral, and his dad's there, who looks like discount Patrick Stewart.
Does look like Discount Patrick Stewart.
And then he meets his sister, and his sister is married to Neil Cicierega.
That's not
She
true,
did.
by the way, guys.
He kind of looked like him, though.
Kinda.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Super discount.
Yeah.
Everyone in this
Sierra.
movie kinda looks like someone.
That is true.
Yeah.
Everyone, like, sometimes it's an actor, sometimes it's people we know, sometimes it's maybe someone's father we know. And
Who's also an actor, I guess.
yeah, he is. So when we first watched this movie, had you seen it before, or was it
No.
all three of us? Okay, all three of us went go. Because I have to admit, when I was watching this movie, I couldn't help but crave barbecue a little bit while I was watching it, because we all got barbecue the first time we watched it. So I was a little bit like,
Really? We had eaten barbecue the night before.
Yeah, I think.
No, just this time.
Oh, okay.
We literally had barbecue like 2 days ago.
No.
Fuck, I want barbecue
I
again.
know, right?
We might be getting on that.
What? Jesus.
Because I want meat in my stomach.
Hi there.
No, we
I
all-
like spending $90 every night for dinner.
Hey.
Even though I have fucking dinner delivered every goddamn night.
I noticed you had some open Chinese food in the fridge. That looked pretty good.
Oh, yeah, it was pretty good. It was last night.
Nice.
It's almost all eaten, though.
I saw.
I just didn't know where the lid
Look,
was. So
some of us are fucking poor people and some of us are not, alright?
Mhm.
Get wrecked.
That's why we need to make the poor people pay for everything.
Yeah, I'd not make Kyle pay for anything.
I know.
Anyway.
Anyway, so he gets to the wake and he realizes that
It's been
his-
in Japan for 4 months. It's like I want food again.
what's the food in Japan like?
Japanese food,
You
but
didn't get
Japanese
Korean
food is
barbecue
very.
while you were there?
No, it's
Because
just.
it's in Asia, get it?
You know, I kind of really don't get the joke. No, but yeah, Japanese food's pretty good, but not when you have to eat it every single day for like 3 months.
Why not?
Yeah, that would
Just get
suck.
some ramen. Get
Because
some ramen.
a lot of the flavors are really. I mean, everything's flavored the same, which is just
Oh.
vaguely sweet.
Interesting.
Everything's just slightly sweet.
Are there not a lot of like? I'm assuming they wouldn't taste the same, but there's not a lot of like like in America, how there are some people you can go to like a Mexican restaurant, or you can go to like Italian restaurant.
No, that's the thing. Is it's not.
Oh, it's just all.
It's just Japanese food. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I really don't like Japanese food, so I probably should
never
go
go
to
to
Japan.
Japan.
Do you
All
like
right.
Japanese cars?
Do I?
Yeah.
I do.
Asking if, no, I was asking.
Oh.
Do you like Japanese
It's
cars?
been 1 week
That's
since
why
you.
I was asking.
Yeah.
Okay.
So back to the film.
Back to the movie we're talking about. So at the wake, he finds out that his mother left in the will the proceeds from the auction of his grandmother's house. So he needs to stay in this town of River's Mouth for
a whole week.
a whole week so that he can get the proceeds from the auction. Which, I mean, it's a little like he could just leave probably and have him send the money, but
Yeah.
I mean, the movie kind of gives you sort of these reasons for him to need to stay in the town. And a lot of times, I think this movie kind of acknowledges the fact that he kind of could leave, but he's sort of kind of choosing to stay there.
Yeah, I think a lot of what makes the film interesting in a way
Uh-huh.
is that it is his conflict between wanting to leave the town,
Yeah.
but feeling the sense of obligation in
Uh-huh.
a way to be
Sure.
there towards various people.
Yeah. And I think that... Let me just close the door so maybe the fan... Oh, it's coming from here. Never mind.
there.
Can't escape it.
Lamau.
And I think, and I really think that this movie, which we mentioned earlier, has a very small budget. Like, it's... do you know the exact numbers of...
I'm assuming $1-2.
Yeah, about $5 maybe, whatever the change they found on the floor would be. Because it's super, super, super low budget. But it really, I think it does a very good job of showing how much you can get away with low budget. I think, if anything, Lovecraft, the type of Lovecraftian story where it's a lot of like, a weird thing happens, but you're like, what did that mean? And then the character is like, what's that? And then like more stuff happens.
Yeah.
Kind of works for kind of that low budget sort of.
Because the thing with Lovecraft and what this film does, you're never supposed to get any clear look at any of the things.
Exactly.
You know, there's never really any good descriptions of any of the monsters in Lovecraft stories.
I'm
Dog
sorry.
just-
I was trying to look up the budget.
The dog just sneezed on the snacks.
Well, good for the dog. Bad for the snacks.
Bad for the snacks, but...
The only time you ever get any clear description is because Lovecraft would sometimes draw things. Lovecraft's a terrible visual artist.
That's nice.
But I tried his best, in their defense.
Yeah.
But, or maybe they didn't. They just didn't give a fuck.
Yeah, it's like,
Fuck
whatever,
it,
fuck it.
Cthulhu looks
Yeah,
weird.
it's fucking Octopus Man.
So really, you never should. There's never
Yeah.
should be a Lovecraftian story that ever really shows the monster or shows the thing. And that lends itself to where you only really need to pay your actors and pay for film.
Exactly.
Like, you don't really need costume design. You don't really need set design.
Yeah. And I think, with this story especially, where it's set modern day, like there was kind of famously never made At the Mountains of Madness movie by Guillermo del Toro, and he really wanted to go into like the period and like get really crazy creature effects and really crazy like set design and stuff of like all of them exploring the Mountains of Madness. But I think with something like this, where it's done the modern day, it's kind of all just this sort of creepy town, and it uses a lot of kind of modern horror movie, or even kind of 80s and 90s kind of horror movie, or all the way back to like 70s kind of horror movie of like weird town kind of horror film.
It has a very, I think, 80s horror film vibe, where it's like small town, something weird.
Yeah, small town, something weird. So.
Which was, I think, in a way, probably
Sure.
an inspiration of Lovecraft, at least in the sense of how much horror after Lovecraft became this fear of what we don't understand.
Exactly. Like, there's a lot of...
what we think we understand.
Because there's a pretty good video, I'll maybe try to link it, that talks about how there aren't a lot of really direct film adaptions of any of Lovecraft's work. I said Lovecraft, but Lovecraft's work. Like, they're... and the ones that are pretty low budget, like this one. But there are a lot of like films that take kind of inspiration from more of his bigger ideas and bigger kind of like there's the spooky scary monster in the shadows kind of ideas that he kind of uses in his books and his work.
So, the budget was as close as I can tell, around $1 million.
Okay, so
And I was reading some review type stuff on it. Apparently, there's a director's commentary on the DVD.
Okay.
About like all the stuff that went wrong with it.
Yeah, apparently a lot of stuff, like there's trees that fell, a landslide destroyed someone's house.
Yeah, it was like a big mess.
Wow.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people who think this movie's bad because of the acting.
Yes, that was something I was reading about when I was reading reviews.
Kind of interesting, because I get what they're saying.
Yeah.
But it's a town full of freaky fish people, and that's what they fucking act like.
Yeah. I would say the acting is a very faithful adaptation of the way Lovecraft writes.
Absolutely. It's like
everything feels a little off, but there is
the
such
way
a humanness to the way it works.
The way people talk it's like fucking the character. Fuck, what's his name? The character in Alien, the android character.
Bishop.
Yes.
Yes.
You know how he talks?
Yeah.
Almost like a human. But not quite like a human.
Yeah.
And people fucking love that movie.
Yeah, exactly. And that movie...
It's the same shit.
Yeah, and that movie is very inspired by Lovecraft.
Yeah, that's just Lovecraft.
But it's the same thing. There's these people who speak almost like people.
Yeah.
But they're still like, have this like weird robotic essence to them. And it's... I don't know, a lot of the characters that talk like that are the freakiest of the fish people.
Exactly, yeah. The freakiest.
The freakiest of the fish people, yeah. They certainly are freaky.
And I actually have a real soft spot for movies like this, like really low budget, like a bunch of unknown, like actors off the street or like community actors and stuff. I actually really like that. That's why I really like films like Clerks or something like that. But
XD liking Clerks in 2018.
But
Clerks 2. Sorry, I only
it is no Clerks 2.
Sorry, I only like Mallrats.
Okay. I mean, come on, Mallrats 2. Come on, let's get going, Mallrats.
When are we getting?
Yes.
Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back 2.
We are not getting Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back 2. We are actually getting the Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back reboot, where Kevin Smith is going to write and direct a reboot of Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, where he makes a commentary on like reboot culture and like modern film stuff. I can just see your face.
This is why I don't like Kevin Smith.
Oh dear.
As a human, fundamentally.
Have you seen his new pilot for his TV show called Hollyweed? Where he plays.
Woo!
Does he not think BoJack Horseman was made?
That is literally.
I got this great idea. It's about a depressed person living in L.A. It stars David Duchovny and a horse. Never been done.
Hollyweed is literally the name of like a show that is a joke on the TV in BoJack.
Yeah.
Like a throwaway.
With
joke.
Kevin Smith on it.
Yeah.
With Kevin Smith on it.
Holy fuck.
No, it's a 26-minute pilot of a show where he works at a weed dispensary with his one black friend, and
he's got to have his one black.
He's got to have his one black friend, and he sells weed and he makes really good weed, and it's a sitcom about how he convinces a porn star to stop doing porn because she smokes a bunch of his weed, and she's like, "Yeah, I should." But the thing is, no networks picked it up, so actually he's trying to fund it himself now by getting crowdfunding on it.
Oh my God.
So check out Hollyweed.
That's fucking terrible.
I give it 1 star out of a possible
You get 1 blunt out of 5 blunts.
Have you watched it?
I have watched it.
How was it?
It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be honest. Like, I was expecting a lot cringier, like... Because Kevin Smith, for anyone who knows, is the weed master. He's the weed god. So I was expecting a lot more cringy of, like, weed talk and, like, oh, bro, let's fucking get high all the time. And they do. Like, a lot of it is them smoking weed. Yeah. But at the same time, I was expecting it, I don't know, to be a little more kind of cringy. Like, I was expecting, like, Beer Fest, but with weed. But it ultimately is kind of this just sort of... It's essentially just Clerks. But in a weed store. Yeah. So, I don't know. It's not that bad.
I love how in Clerks they learn that sometimes if you're a good person, that's a good thing to be. And Kevin Smith thinks that's a new idea.
I love how in Clerks they think that if your girlfriend has had sex with more than just you should break up with her.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
What a whore.
What a fucking...
There's a line in this manga about that, about how even if a girl...
The Clerks manga?
No, breaks up with somebody to be with you, they're still ruined because they were with someone else.
Jesus
and your
Christ.
girlfriend has to be only for you.
Oh
for
my god.
always.
That's some fucking, like, insult green text shit.
No, that's
like,
true, though. That's real.
Yeah, it's like this
It's 100% real.
Oh my god.
lesbian manga.
Sounds fun.
Making a joke about we're playing a dating sim.
Ah.
And then there's like, well, this girl would be the cute, or this girl's cute, but they had a boyfriend, so they're just ruined forever now.
They're not a true lesbian.
No, it was just that they had a partner in general,
okay.
so they're ruined forever now.
Just, that's
yeah.
deep standards, man. Really straight standards.
Big thick.
Big, hell yeah. Dude, big taste?
This one, back to this Kevin Smith roast podcast.
Yeah. More like Kevin Smith blunt podcast. I was going to say toast podcast. I'm like, that's not a weed thing. Kevin Smith blunt cast. So go fund. You can either... But here's the thing. It's not like Kickstarter or like Indiegogo or something.
It's a GoFundMe.
It's a specific thing where you name how much you would pay per episode, and you can do anything from $1.99 to $5.99 per episode. So come on, guys, let's all hit $5.99 per episode for this weed sitcom. I think we could get it going. To be honest, I'm heavily considering actually paying for it because I kind of want to see more of this, but just to see what they do with it. Anyway, that's an oof from me. How'd we get to Kevin Smith?
How'd you not get to Kevin
Acting?
Smith? You were talking about
acting, Clerks.
love
That's
it.
right. So I like films that have like kind of like not bad acting, but clearly like people who've only really worked in like community theater, like very small roles, or like trying to kind of make it, or like friends of the lead. And I think with this, like kind of what you said, they make that style of acting work really well because it is pretty much all for the like weird, creepy people. The only really person who's normal is the main character, who his performance
to be a freaky fish guy
is a freaky fish guy. Spoilers, but his performance is probably it's pretty fucking great.
Yeah.
Like the bit when he's getting arrested is
Oh my god, he's just flipping his shit.
Yeah.
And I think he does a really good job of kind of just over the course of the film getting more and more just insane and like freaked out and just done with everything.
Yeah, which is a direct take from the Shadow of Rain's mouth. The main character becomes more and more just sort of unhinged and more and more.
I don't know, he gets angry in that movie and it feels really real. It sounds like he's just really actually mad.
Yeah,
he's just done with everything.
There's a real humanness that comes from a sense of, I think, they're not so good actors that they can pull off humanness, but they're not good enough actors that it just comes off as more human. There's a level of competency where they can portray character, right? They're still, I think, all just on some level who they are as people or something.
They're unintentionally highlighting kind of the nuance of how people talk.
Yeah.
Which for this type of film, again, you see that type of thing in a lot of very like indie dramas or indie comedies of like it's supposed to be how people really talk. But with this, I think it kind of just makes it feel more real in a lot of ways to this kind of out there story.
Yeah, it does an amazing job of adapting the feel of the dialogue and writing of the Shadow of Rain's mouth.
There's a great scene where him and his dad are just screaming at each other for 30 seconds, and you can't understand anything because it's just two people shouting at each other.
Yeah.
It's like, that's pretty fucking real.
Yeah, I've been at dinners like that.
Yeah, it's...
So
Obi-Wan looks like he's sitting at the dinner table while his friend's parents are fighting.
So no, I love that scene. That scene's fucking great. I love just how... I love the line, it's, these rolls are great, they're store-bought, but they are free-caught.
Yeah, I think what makes it work is that the main character does a very good job, the actor, of not making their character just a one-note, scared of freaky fish people person.
Exactly.
Like, they do care about their sister, and they have a sense of humor, and they love their, not necessarily their ex-boyfriend, but, like, their friend that they had sex with in the past.
Yeah. Their buddy.
And it really...
Yeah, they have multiple varying opinions about people around the town instead of just being like everyone in the town is one person that I have.
Which is a departure from pretty much any Lovecraft story, where it is one professor who dislikes the whole town.
Yeah. I think with this...
And then a crazy old drunk guy.
Yeah, the crazy old drunk guy knows the truth.
Mm-hmm. I think with this also, it feels... I think it does a pretty good job of having all the characters kind of be memorable, even if they only have, like, 1 or 2 scenes. Like, the fucking wheelchair guy, who, like, tells about how he fucking got his balls fucking...
Scared of my construction site.
Yeah. Or, like, the girl who rapes him, or, like, all these different characters feel very distinct, which makes it, again, feel much more like a real town than just... Because I think that's one thing that you do see a lot. You do see kind of that, like, town with this sort of hive mind sort of people, and something like Halloween 3, for example, kind of has that. And they're good movies sometimes, but I think with this it does a good job of still having them feel like real people, but also you feel like something's off with all of them, and that all of them have this kind of... They're off in the same way, which is what's weird about it. It's not just like one person who's kind of like, oh, you're weird. It's like everyone's weird in the same way, and you're like, what?
You can tell they're all freaky fish people,
exactly.
You know?
Or like the liquor store girl who's in one scene.
Exactly.
Or her brother who's in one scene. Mm-hmm. But they're still like,
you remember them. You remember that screeching harpy of the liquor store girl.
Wow, dude, that's harsh. Fucking little brother got kidnapped by cultists.
That's why she wears really, really terrible eyeliner.
Her fucking freaking out in the car.
Yeah. Come on, can we go? That's where the 2007 really shows with that girl, with her hair and her eyeliner and all that. It's just like...
Looks like a Zack Snyder.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's confusing what exactly they were going for.
Slut.
Yeah, no, I mean, I guess just like small town.
She's supposed to be a teenager, I guess.
Yeah.
Even though she looks like she's 25.
She doesn't look like a teenager.
So I think they're supposed to kind of make her look younger.
Fucking anime teenagers with 40-year-old voices.
Also, I don't know what, like, teenager is supposed to be working at the night shift at a liquor store. Like, that usually...
Small town.
I mean, yeah, I guess. But anyway. Maya's giving you a look. Giving you a little... Oh, she winked at you!
Yeah, she did.
Oh, that's cute. So anyway. So, kind of moving along plot here. He hangs out in the town. Kind of reconnects with his old flame, who it's kind of doing a will they, won't they, kind of what's going to happen. He kind of walks around his old stomping grounds, flashes back to different scenes of, like, his youth and stuff. Apparently in one scene he realizes that he, like, tried to kill himself, which they never really talk about again. Because there's a scene where the flashback to where his wrists are slit, and that never... Is that from the book?
No, no. I think that's just supposed to be...
Just like how
he was gay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Depressed, because that was a freaky fish guy.
That was a homophobic freaky fish guy at that.
Yeah.
And then there's a
It's weird.
Yeah.
It's really weird, because people in the town don't really hate him because he's gay. They hate him because he doesn't have kids.
I think,
like...
the point is that they hate him that he's gay.
But a lot of them are very, very focused on the fact that he does not have a kid.
That's the plot of the film.
Yeah.
Is that they... Basically, the overall plot of this film, let's get it out of the way, because it's being very slow here. You've seen the shadow over In's mouth. It's just that, where this guy goes back to this town for... It doesn't actually matter the reason. And people expect that... And people... In the shadow over In's mouth, people recognize that this guy is, like, from the Freaky Fish people. But in this film, people know who he is. He's this cultist. His father's this famous cultist in this town, and the whole town's kind of controlled by this cult. And basically all of the cult people want him to have a child because his children will be, I guess, very strong Freaky Fish people.
Yeah, they'll be, like, top tier Freaky Fish people.
Because he has, like, the pure Freaky Fish people bloodline.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's going, and they want him to become this king of the new Freaky Fish world. Where you can live forever under the ocean.
This is kind of out of place for most, like, creepy small towns, but the police aren't in on it. And they're actually really fucking mad about it.
Yeah.
They're like, this is fucked up.
I like that kind of aspect because it almost feels like that I think that does a good job of realizing this has been happening for a long time. And instead of just saying it's been happening for a long time, you realize that this guy, the police chief, has kind of been living the life that the main character has for the past week for like all his life. And all his life he's been like, what the fuck is happening in this town? And then he doesn't
But he's
really...
still not a good person.
No, he's still very much not a good person.
Yeah. He still is very obviously, though, we put people in jail and, the 70s and 80s even for just being gay.
He's almost, outside of the dad, probably the most outwardly, like, homophobic guy in the entire movie.
No, he's not talking about him being gay. He's talking about him being a fish guy.
No.
Definitely it's about being in the fish cult, I think.
No, if anything, I feel like that's almost does a good job of doing kind of illustrating kind of Lovecraft's as a person's kind of thoughts and ideas and putting it in one person, because you are right, he is both talking about him being a freaky fish and also just him being gay, and he's talking about both of those things, and kind of it's a mixed metaphor of kind of illustrating just this guy being homophobic, but also this guy kind of illustrating like Lovecraft and what he felt, and I think that does a really good job with that. And but yeah, so a lot of weird stuff happens in this week. He runs in the sewers at one point, meets some
freaky fish people.
Made some freakiest of freaky fish people.
Yeah, the only time you ever get any sort of view of what... It's a little unclear if these are what the people actually look like, maybe in the town, or if, the people in the town are like half these things, look more human, but these are the old ones, the ancient ones, the deep ones? I've heard those are... I don't even know if it's ever clear in the actual Lovecraft mythos.
I think
if those are three separate races of weird alien creatures,
or they're all the same.
All the same, but I think these would be.
The drunk guy mentions finding like a fish that looks like a baby. Yeah. So I'm assuming those are kind of supposed to be what they are. The main character refers to them as like lizard.
Giant salamanders.
Salamanders, that's right.
He describes them as that initially, but then kind of just describes them as being like inhuman, but with in a way that's like human they look qualities. Like human, but they're not human.
It does the classic like true to form thing of not showing the scary ultra monster. Like you don't even see his children. He sees them, but you know. Yeah, you don't see... It's like the indescribable horror thing.
Yeah, you just get
now that I think about it, weirdly, Jaws has, although not on purpose.
No, not at all on purpose. And I think, again, in a lot of things, though maybe inspired by it, does feel... And for this one, too, it feels kind of like a kind of cop-out thing. But in this one, it's very clearly like... Lovecraft is always the too horrifying to describe monster kind of thing.
And I think in a very which I think is what, in my opinion, is the genius of Lovecraft in any good horror film is that once you look at anything for more than a few seconds, it's not scary anymore.
No, it's not.
It's like Five Nights at Freddy's, you know.
It's like kind of if you look at the alien,
it's like Naughty Nights.
The film. Alien. It's not really scary.
No,
it's just
it's
a
got
giant
two sets
penis.
of teeth. That's pretty fucked up.
It's just a giant penis with another penis in its mouth vagina.
No, there's a. Now this is going to sound really out of place, but I'm going to praise Matt Pat for something really.
Oh, really?
Praise our Lord and Savior Matt Pat. This is a long time ago when Five Nights at Freddy's first came out, and he had a really funny joke in a video where it's like a skit. Where he's playing the game for the first time,
and he's like pretending to be scared.
Super like scared or whatever, like, pretending to be scared. And then the jump scare happens, and he just starts laughing because it's not scary at all. There's no suspense. You're like, really? That's fucking it? So then he's like just going back, playing through again. He's like doing like this fake scared, and they're just laughing at everything.
Yeah.
It's like,
well, that was back in the golden age of Matt.
Golden
Before
era.
that, darn water bottle flip.
Was Link dead? Golden era.
Is Mario communist? Golden
Now
era?
we're on YouTube live stream FNAF custom night. Was Purple Guy you the whole time?
It was
Purple Guy Freddy Fazbear?
The skeleton was me, who was you, and you wrote this!
And the scariest part of this story is that I am you, and you became skeleton and wrote this! Probably is not that scary.
He turned on the Xbox.
That is one of the greatest
that's so
videos on the
good.
internet.
Anyway. Yes, well, no, with Alien especially, again, I think that's why the film works, is why it's so scary, is because it's designed to blend in with the background of the ship.
Yeah.
And, like, the H.R. Giger design is so perfect because it's, like, the shadows and it are kind of this one essence, and they work together. It's not necessarily, like, they both illustrate each other very well, and I think that's why Alien, granted I fell asleep during half of it, but I've been awake for like 36 hours, so that's why. But
That's why Alien is a horror movie and Aliens is an action movie.
it is, yes. I have only seen the first Alien movie.
I've seen none.
Oh, really? Well,
None
then.
ever. If it came out in the 80s,
Yeah.
haven't seen it. I know it
What
came
about
out in 1979.
Star Wars?
Good one. Indiana Jones, got him.
So,
I saw a T-shirt that was it was Indiana Solo and the Raiders of the Lost Ewoks, and it was like Han Solo and Indiana Jones.
how do you raid an Ewok? Do you just mug it in a back alley?
I think it's a sex thing.
I was assuming that, but
Yeah.
I didn't necessarily want to say that. I buy it.
They could have just put The Last Crusade and just had it been about him like murdering Ewoks.
There's a film for you.
Yeah.
You do a Star Wars story about like a metaphor for colonialism of just like murdering a bunch of aliens. Oh wait, I guess that's Avatar.
Also, that's
Or
just
Star Trek.
Wars.
Star
That's also
Trek.
just Star Wars, like,
Oh.
because they don't like aliens.
No, they don't.
Hey, here's an idea for a Star Wars story. Stop making them. Oh wait.
I think we're taking that advice. Oh, mine's got like some
Anyway,
nice
now,
teeth.
now that we've gotten off track once again, do you have a? I know someone who has a teeth fetish.
I used to have a teeth fetish, but I don't anymore.
Interesting.
Yeah, I kind of grew out of it. It got a little long in the
I
tooth.
was gonna say that sounds like it should be a pun, and it just isn't.
Yeah.
Alright.
Not even joking.
No,
but, you know.
I guess the pun would be something along the lines of I used to have a diaper fetish, but then I grew out of it.
And then I shit my pants. I've never had a diaper fetish though. I think that's gross. I'm the one bodily fluid I'm not cool with is shit. Everything else can be hot. Shit. Sorry, not my thing.
This is a good conversation.
This is the direction this podcast would go in when I signed up to do it.
It usually does. So.
Listen,
Okay, here we go. Well,
there have been times where we've gotten too far into it to the point where we have like pretty much we had to cut it.
Oh.
And luckily, the episode in general was super fucked.
Yeah.
But like, it got bad.
It got very
It
bad.
got really bad.
It got
I
really
just want to
bad.
talk about Lovecraft and
So would you rather have
passion
sex?
for their
We're
works.
doing this one again.
Yeah. Would you rather have sex with your girlfriend in your mom's body or your mom in your girlfriend's body? This was from last week. Think about that. You can answer at the end.
Big
We'll keep
thing.
going. Big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the must-watch till the end to find out the answer.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so
The option is neither.
Yeah.
So he hangs out in the town, goes underground, finds some freaky lizard.
Is suicide
child.
an option on that question?
Suicide's always an option.
Okay.
Suicide is not the route. Time to go off route then. Anyway, so he finds some freaky fish people. Boy gets killed. He gets arrested because they say he killed and raped the boy, which
Yeah.
you know. They just threw in because he's
They
gay.
just threw in the rape
Yeah.
part. It
Yeah.
really comes
Yeah.
out of nowhere.
But was something gay people were
Yeah.
just kind of accused of was, and then
yeah.
you're a child rapist.
Yep.
And they were. All of them.
Alright.
All right, Lovecraft.
Every gay one.
Okay. And so then,
I don't think Lovecraft would have had a problem with child rape.
Huh?
you don't think?
No, I don't
Probably
think.
not.
Is
I
he
think
like an
it's
Edgar Allan Poe type, or like, is there any?
Oh, do you mean he was bad at writing? No, he was quite good at it.
Holy shit.
Wha-bam! Bust
I'm
out
sorry,
those
but
roads.
people who like Poe, it's
Yeah.
like,
Quote
oh
related.
yeah. I'm also scared of somebody writing good poetry about them being a little sad some days. It's like, that's not scary.
Wasn't Lovecraft like actually like really admiring of Poe? Or
Yeah, he really liked Poe.
Okay.
But I think in the same way that like I don't
Same
know.
way
I was
that I
going
like
to make a
Kevin
classical music reference, but it wouldn't.
Yeah.
No one will really get it. But
Go ahead, do it anyway.
No, it's just the way that like pretty much everyone thought like Handel was the best composer, including
yes.
like Beethoven and stuff. And it's like, yeah, you have these people who really admired this composer who was just far worse than they were.
Because good music hadn't been invented yet. So
I think it was just, I think there's an obvious connection between Poe and Lovecraft, but I don't think, they do a similar thing, which is this kind of suspense-based fear of mental illness.
Sure.
But you always feel like Poe is this moody emo kid.
Definitely.
Whereas Lovecraft is legitimately terrified he's going to go insane when he's in his 20s or 30s. Because both his parents did.
Yeah.
There is this... What makes Lovecraft's work is that you do feel he is legitimately terrified of the things he's talking about. He legitimately... He might be the only person to ever be like... actually phobic of minorities.
Yeah.
He is legitimately just afraid of things that are different. One of the things that I think really works and isn't really illustrated in the Shadow in Cthulhu is how afraid Lovecraft is of going old.
Sure.
It's prevalent in every single one of his works. Is a line about how the main character or some protagonist is really old, but still fully capable of doing everything. Like, most of his characters are in, like, their 60s.
Yeah.
Like, they are old, but they're able to climb mountains, go exploring, fight giant monsters. Because of how much Lovecraft was terrified that he just literally go insane, lose control of his body as he grew old. And I think that fear just isn't prevalent in Poe.
Well, yeah, definitely not Poe. I think in this movie, though, maybe a little more... Not directly, but I think the whole thing of, like, the cult wanting immortality is kind of that. Of having that fear of death. Where He even has the monologue where it's like, 2 years, 10 years, even 100 years, what's the point if you die?
Yeah.
And it's like, which is a very kind of warped way to look at life, but I think, I mean, there are people who believe that. And, I mean, clearly this guy does. And he's like, if I can't live for hundreds of thousands of years, what's the point? So... I don't know, I think, I think it does a good job as, again, which is why I would love to see more modern day films with Lovecraft material, because I think there's so much you can take from it.
People want to do period, this was like, I was going to talk about this, I moved on to weird sex things or something.
Yes, anyway, moving back.
People want to make these period Lovecraft pieces.
Sure.
When nothing in Lovecraft has to do with the time he was born. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Why do that? I don't... It's like, Lovecraft, there's no idealization of his time period in his stories or anything like that. It's like, Lovecraft would be someone who, if they weren't severely mentally ill and a hateful person, would embrace all change that happened, you know? Like, they were someone who, I think, very much... And there is, obviously, this praise of the new in all of their stories. However warped his idea of what should be new is.
Yeah.
It is the old ways, the old gods, the old peoples, defeated by a modern white scientist.
Yeah.
You know, that is the plot of every Lovecraft story.
Yeah.
And so I think when people try to make it period, I think you're actually detracting from... You're focusing on, like, this one part of Lovecraft that has nothing to do with Lovecraft.
I think it's purely just the what people believe the aesthetics of his books are. Which is that kind of gothic-ish sort of Lovecraft. Like, Lovecraftian, when said, is usually an aesthetic term, more than it is even a writing term.
Which I think is interesting because of how little Lovecraft really describes imagery.
Yeah.
That's kind of his whole thing.
Is not doing it.
It's not, it's like, and there was a building with bricks in it.
Oh, damn, really?
That's it. It was a brick building.
So I was looking up games based on Lovecraft.
Well, there's the new one coming out.
That's why I was looking it up, because I was trying to think about it.
Yeah.
But I came across something that I never thought about in a game I played that's really funny. In the fictional universe of the 2013 fighting game Skullgirls, there's a neighborhood in the game's world known as Little Innsmouth, which is inhabited by fish-like humanoids. I never thought about that. That's really funny. Anyway.
Is this like I can imagine what type of game this is. Like an anime girls game?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, there's the new one, Call of Cthulhu, which looks kind of cool, but also looks... I have no idea what that's going to be. Like, I don't know if any gameplay footage has ever been released. I'm assuming it's kind of like the modern-day sort of point-and-click walking simulator type of game.
I think go on, if you...
Oh, I was just going to go into video games, so if you want to talk about something...
No, yeah, I was going to comment on both video games using Lovecraftian elements, and a lot of Lovecraftian things in general in pop culture is how much of it is about... If on the cover of your Lovecraftian themed anything, you have a picture of a monster, you're missing the point of
You're missing
Lovecraft.
the point, yeah.
In fact, it's not that the monsters themselves are scary. It's the fact that people believe in them, which is the terrifying aspect of Lovecraft,
totally.
right? It's about... it's not the fact that the monster is this undescribable horror of eyeballs. It's the fact that people aren't bothered by this and want to feed it people or some shit to be immortal. That's the scary part. Is that there are people working towards helping these beings.
It's a detective game.
Is Pikachu in it?
So what is, like... Is there gameplay footage of it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you show up in a fucking creepy port town, and a lot of weird shit's going on, and you have to interview people who are fucking weird and want to sacrifice.
So it's Eleanor too.
I remember. I remember it. I remember hearing about it. So it's part like investigation, like first-person investigation game, and part like horror game because you also have to go into like fucking haunted shit where people are like trying to murder you.
If I'm being honest, from what I've seen, I haven't watched a lot of it, but that honestly looks pretty cool. And like if I actually played games, I would maybe want to try to play that.
This is the picture for it.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Oh yeah.
From what I can think of, I know there's an old actually game called Call of Cthulhu, which I think is a shooter.
There is a shooter.
Uh-huh.
There's a Japanese shooter. There's also a game based on Shadow over Innsmouth.
Okay.
Is it from like 2005 or something?
Okay. Yeah, I think I've seen that. And they have like CGI Cthulhu coming up. And then the only other things I can think of this is more inspired by, but from what I've seen, both of the Outlast games seem kind of Lovecraft inspired. Not directly,
What's
but
Outlast?
It's the one where you're in the
mental hospital.
Yeah.
And then the sequel where you're in like Hick World.
That one's a little bit. Well,
that one's a little more.
They both have like a culty thing to them.
Yeah, I would say it's kind of the cult thing and this idea of like the cult, but worship this kind of old giant god that may or may not be real.
Yeah, that's in the second one definitely.
Mm-hmm.
The first one's interesting because it's got the cult guy and he's not the villain. Like
Who's
the
the
cult
villain?
guy helps you, just the fucking crazy guy.
He's a scientist.
Yeah, I mean, there's a scientist. The scientist is like an antagonist in the sense that he made the villains, but he's not the guy who's trying to kill you. There's this really huge crazy guy who just like wants to murder everybody, and then there's like a evil spirit thing.
I watched a lot of gameplay footage of Outlast 2 when it came out, and I kind of felt like that sort of...
But yeah, in Outlast 1, there's this priest who talks to you all the time, and he doesn't want to let you out of the asylum, so you kind of assume that he's a bad guy. But he's just trying to get you to go to the place where all the bad shit's happening and record it so people know.
So people know it exists.
And then he sets himself on fire because
as one does.
He's insane.
Yeah.
But
I don't know, would you say there are any other video games, Kyle? Like what else was on the list?
It's a bunch of shit. Just like a bunch of random shit.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of video games that are like actually faithful to it. Yeah. But this apparently is an adaptation of the Call of Cthulhu.
Okay.
The story.
Yeah.
So it's...
That one's the better stories in my opinion.
Oh really? What's that one?
It's about the guy meets these people who like Cthulhu, I guess.
Okay.
It's just like... It's
just like a shorter Shadow over Innsmouth.
Alright.
So it's like...
Yeah. But it's part like investigation game and part like stealth horror game.
Yeah, which is a good way to do. I mean, it's a good way to do.
So I'm assuming it's going to be a game where you can't fight back mostly.
Yeah.
But anyway, yes, your thing with video games and kind of Lovecraft in general.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of emphasis on, the aspects of the monster designs and the monsters themselves, which is fine if you think that's cool or whatever.
Yeah,
but
sure.
It's interesting the way kind of like I guess, it's really not the point of Lovecraft. That's what's kind of become popular off of Lovecraft.
Yeah, I would say that that's the one thing, and that's why most people don't bother adapting his work.
Yeah.
Because they just want tentacle monster as their thing. And, like, there are they're not a lot, but there are tentacle monster movies and there's stuff like that. And I think that's more what people want, is, like, gross, slimy creature.
Yeah, I think a lot of Lovecraft's works would be very hard to adapt into anything interesting to watch if you just weren't really into Lovecraft. I think Mountains of Madness, in a way, primarily because nothing happens in that story. There's not an action sequence.
Isn't it just like them exploring these like weird, freaky mountains?
Yeah, it's my favorite Lovecraft story because it's just about it's really the only story where you ever actually get to learn about the mythos really in any slightly deep way. But it does a good job of like most of it is just them walking around the mountains, looking at all this like the writings of the old ones or whatever. But it also does a good job of you're never quite sure what the reason is behind why the old ones are attacking them. Or why their things are here. And so it does a good job of like there's a suspense if you don't know who's going to die, but there's a suspense if you don't even know what they could be doing that could get them killed. And so it really is these people in a place where they don't know anything. There are a lot of times people talk about like the rules of a world in a film. Like, what are the rules in this game? What are the rules of this film? Right? And it really is. It does a good job of creating a setting where there aren't rules.
Yeah. It's fear and loathing rules. There's no rules.
Yeah, it's like they're you just don't know what could cause them to be killed, why they're being killed, what's killing them, in an interesting way. But I think if you tried to adapt that, it would just kind of be like, honestly, as weird as it sounds, Mountains of Madness would be an amazing found footage film.
That's what I was thinking about when you were describing this to me. Yeah.
It'd actually be a fantastic found footage film. Because the whole thing where, like, they get a third of a second glimpse of the monster in their camera before dropping their camera and running.
Exactly.
It's literally a scene at the Mountains of Madness. The guy turns to look at a Shoggoth for, like, a fraction of a second before being like, fuck that, I'm leaving.
Nah, screw this shit, I'm out.
Which I think is something that people criticize in found films, possibly, even though it's a very realistic thing that would happen.
Yeah, you'd just be like,
fuck
screw
that,
this.
I'm done.
Yeah.
Can I go on a rant, since we're talking about suspense-based horror movies?
Sure, go crazy.
Yeah.
Paranormal Activity movies are fucking horrible.
Yeah.
They're some of the worst movies ever made.
This is a real hot take.
I really, really hate them. And I don't know why they made money, and I don't know why they made so many of them. I've watched them with other people who have been scared by them.
John got spooked.
I don't understand what's scary about it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, yeah, a suspenseful horror is going to be scarier than just like, guy's coming to murder you.
I would disagree, but I would say you can make that suspenseful.
No, but I mean, a lot of times it just turns into like, how many characters can we kill?
Like a slasher film or something.
Right.
Yeah, I guess Texas Chainsaw Massacre is scary.
Sure.
No, it's not.
No, it's just freaky. Yeah. It's just
right. But yeah, and it's just like a different goal for your movie, I guess.
Yeah.
But Paranormal Activity movies are actively unscary.
Sure.
And just boring. I hate it.
How many have you seen?
I saw the second one.
Okay.
And I couldn't believe that this was a movie that someone made and came out in theaters.
What I think a lot of people don't use when making a found footage film, which is I think what is a really big... Well, there are two things in found footage movies that make them work for their medium. One is just three, okay. One is the style of just like a kind of camera, like old camera, looking at things can be creepy, especially if what's looking at... They look at something that maybe wouldn't be creepy when you're just watching a regular movie, but when shown in this like creepy, like old camera, that looks cool. Something like maybe another kind of Lovecraft-inspired film that we might talk about. What was that movie called?
like Station 95.
Okay.
Frequency FM like 102.
Okay. No, not that one. The Japanese one by the guy.
Oh, Marabito.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, that one's fucking fantastic.
Yeah, that one's amazing.
We'll get there.
That
second hour of this podcast is just a Marabito rundown.
That one's super, super good, and it's not full found footage, but it uses a lot of kind of found footage scenes. Yeah, and elements of it. And then the other one for me, I would say, is that what you only see in a film like maybe Cloverfield or like Chronicle or something, is this kind of like thrill ride aspect to found footage films, where if done correctly, action sequences or like kind of chase sequences or something with a found footage film can feel like a roller coaster. And that's done really well in Cloverfield especially, because there are so many points of that movie where it's just like, think of the camera, run, oh no! And like, sounds hacky, but it's really fun when done correctly.
I think the thing is that like I really like found footage films. I think it's something that can really work. Mm-hmm. But it's been done so many times so poorly, and it's such an excuse to not have actual cinematography
100%.
That the genre has been killed in the popular mind because of just like, oh, it's quick, buy a $20 camera at a Walgreens, run around, and it's
improvise half the film just on what?
Yeah, it's kind of like there's so many films that are made that people criticize in the sense that they're criticizing found footage, where it's like, no, you're criticizing a shitty film.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Like, I think found footage can be really, really, really good, but I would say you almost need more skill than making just a regular movie.
No, you have to make it so that, in a way, I think you need found footage can only be done well when you're actually shooting every single shot in the found footage.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Sure,
it's
like, there's a really good film, Troll Hunter, which actually does that very well, of making the whole, like, action movie kind of, like, chase roller coaster ride really done well, but also feeling very suspenseful. But it's few and far between. I've seen
some amazing CG trolls.
Dude, those were fucking great. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know. Yeah, so you really, it's hard with found footage. And there aren't a lot of great ones, to be honest.
Outlast is basically a found footage game.
Yeah, but even that at least works because there are so many games that use POV already.
Yes.
So that's already kind of standard for the medium. So just translating that into you're holding a camera, that makes sense.
I think the thing that I really like about it is it gives you a reason for the camera to be out all the time.
Sure.
Which can be kind of a problem to explain away why someone would be filming everything. Mm. It can be a little contrived sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's like your light source.
Exactly. So, like a scene in this movie almost.
Right.
Uh-huh.
So it ends up feeling very natural that everything's being recorded because this character is using it to, like, navigate, I guess.
Granted, it's a little weird. There are a bunch of camera batteries in, like, a 1950s asylum, but...
There's also dudes with their dicks hanging out just walking around. So
hell yeah.
Whatever.
I feel like that would happen in a 1950s asylum.
I mean, yeah. I've seen Bronson.
Okay,
Dude takes a shit in his hands.
There's also a fucking black ghost that just, like, eats people. That's not...
Dude, I want to be eaten by a black ghost, if you know what I'm saying.
No?
There's that
no,
guy
I don't know what I'm saying either.
Who's trying to make a wife. He's there.
True.
Yeah.
Oh, what's his deal?
I don't know. Aren't we all?
Hell.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyway. The movie we're talking about. But anyway, so then he reconnects with his old flame. I guess it's implied that they don't exactly have sex, but they kind of like...
No, they have sex.
Okay. It's... Okay. So they have sex, and there's a really beautiful monologue where he's talking about, like,
Sorry.
talking about Lion the Witch in the Wardrobe, and, like, just about, like, his experience with that. And I think that's what's so great about this film is it does a really good job of doing Lovecraft and a really good job of doing horror, but there are just really just, on their own, very kind of beautiful moments in it. Whether that be shots, like a lot of the frame, it's really, the cinematography is really fucking great.
It's very excellent
in this movie.
Yeah. It's a high caliber of cinematography.
Really fucking great. And I feel like, honestly, and this is just a budget thing, a lot of it kind of gets lost in how, like, these are just 2007 cheap digital cameras. Like,
Yeah.
And I would wish this film, I don't really know exactly, like, I'm assuming it's also about conversion, too, so I wish maybe there was a way to, like, maybe take the original with the raw footage and maybe make it look a little better with, like, color correction and stuff. Because I know the only really way to watch this movie, unless you buy the DVD, is to pirate it. You can't find this on any VOD sites.
No.
Believe me,
Find
I've
it on
tried.
YouTube.
You find it on YouTube.
It's on YouTube, and you can watch it in
360p.
yeah, 360p in 7 parts, or
No,
you
there's
can.
there's a full version.
Oh, there's a full version.
Yeah.
Okay, I watched it. I think the same way we watched it on like Putlocker. Excuse me. I mean, I bought the DVD of it.
Yeah, we own 3 copies of the DVD.
Yeah.
What
And
is this website you speak of? Never heard of it.
I don't know. Putlocker.
That's what the used to use.
Yeah, what a fucking homie.
This teacher we had for English
Uh-huh.
in high school just always watched movies on Putlocker.
Nice.
He's like, fuck it.
Okay, here we go.
Fuck.
Yeah.
But anyway,
He owned them though. It was fine.
yeah, it's totally okay.
That's not the rules for that at all.
It's not at all like emulators.
No.
But yeah, so I think maybe it's because it's like taking from they took the cheap footage, not maybe cheap, but kind of low rent footage, put it on a low rent DVD, which was then low rently turned into a file on. So like I think it's converted. And I think if you maybe went out of your way to kind of try to do like a Blu-ray release of this, it probably could look pretty good, because there are some beautiful shots in this movie, like really beautiful shots. And I'm gonna actually try to pull up like who the cinematographer and people were, because I'm assuming they're like nobodies, because I'm assuming most of these people never went on to really. I don't know.
I think they all made another film together.
Okay.
Pretty much, except the writer, about a guy who can time travel, control time. And they won a bunch of awards, but no one really talked about it ever.
The safety not guaranteed. Looper. I'm gonna look it up while you guys talk, unless Kyle has your phone faster. It probably is, but I'm gonna look up the IMDb right now just to see, because I also want to look up a lot of the actors.
Nothing on there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very
Yeah,
bare
DB
bones.
is
It's
Okay.
hard to find
Aaron.
information about this movie.
somewhere to our president's child, Baron.
Oh,
And
and
I am talking about Eric Lamau!
I thought you were gonna talk about the president's balls, but
Listen, can we all talk about how this dude hate Mexicans, but he named his child Barone with 2 R's? Big think, dude.
Baron.
Absolute think on that one.
Yeah.
yeah. When you were
That guy
talking
likes anime though.
Baron?
does he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he does.
Oh, okay. I thought we were talking about Trump.
It
I
was,
like,
yeah,
what?
there was a thing, he was on Twitter, he's like, what anime should I watch? And everyone was just really nice to him, because he's just a kid.
Yeah, he's just like... He's
Nah, still fuck him though. But
Okay, alright.
okay, here we go. Here's a topic. Well, we have a dog in the room. Do you believe that? Never mind. We're not going to talk about this.
This sounded like it was about to get really dark and really fast.
Yeah.
I'm glad that we deflected off this topic.
After the podcast.
I'm glad that I decided not to talk about it. Anyway, so anyway, while I look up the IMDb, I guess we've kind of hit most of the plot. He gets raped.
I can do a quick plot run.
Sure, go crazy.
So, after he has sex with his old previous sexual partner from his childhood,
That sounds bad.
I guess
From his youth.
from his youth. Yeah, he was like 16.
Here, can you pull the IMDb? I bet it's going to be faster on your computer.
It's
Could you?
really not.
No, but I still want to just talk about.
Basically, then he
Ready
goes
for
and he
some
sees
clicking.
this kid nailed on his fucking on the house he's staying at. I guess like entryway.
Yeah.
Then he gets arrested by the police.
Mm-hmm.
Then he gets
Oh, you forgot about the guy who's dressed like a Secret Service agent who buys the house.
Oh.
And
he's just part of the cult though.
yeah, but it's just like so weird because
Uh-huh.
that character never like.
Well, then he gets
solves.
arrested. Yeah. Well, there are a couple things that I would say don't really get resolved. Like,
To be fair, it is
Yeah.
kind of. It is kind of an interesting way to make a movie that like. Sometimes things just don't get resolved because something gets interrupted.
Mhm.
Like he's really intent on finding out who that guy is and why he wanted to buy it, and
Yeah.
he just gets arrested and just never sees that guy again.
no.
Yeah.
Like you just that's just how it is.
So there's an ad for Ant-Man and the Wasp where it's bugs crawling on your screen. I wasn't really looking at it, and I legitimately thought like giant bugs were on my screen, so I had a like mini heart attack right now of just like, oh my god, and oh, it's an ad.
But yeah, he gets arrested, and then it's kind of implied that the cult destroys the jail.
Yeah,
it's implied, and that and then they just destroy the door, so he leaves. Then he goes back to his
grandma's house.
Yeah, and finds a DVD of his mom basically saying, "Your family's a bunch of freaky fish people. You were right to fucking leave. Never come back." Then on the film, his dad murders his mom. And then says, "Yeah, we're freaky fish people, but if you join us, you can be immortal. And if you have children, you can become. Everyone will basically be able to become immortal, right?" And his response to this is kind of "fuck off, you freaky fish people."
No.
Tries to go back to his partner in the town, and basically they're like, "Yeah, let's fucking leave.
The hell out of here."
Well, they're trying to leave this festival. Massive violence breaks out, and it's never quite explained why. But you assume...
Naked people running around, yeah.
Yeah, it's just kind of mass chaos. Like the fire, people shooting guns. It appears to be a backlash of some of the regular people against the freaky fish people.
Sure.
This directly mirrors Shadow over Innsmouth, where a similar thing happens. And it's never directly explained why. But it is a driving force. The main protagonist tries to leave, but there's a bunch of violence that makes it hard to leave. He makes a mistake... literally a mistake of stopping at his dad's house. It's never quite explained why. The implication, I would say, from the Shadow over Innsmouth is that as he himself starts to become more of a freaky fish person, he's just drawn to this.
Back, yeah.
He can't stop himself, which is sort of what happens in the Shadow over Innsmouth. The guy becomes more and more like a freaky fish person.
Sure.
In a very similar way, the protagonist starts to look more and more like his dad as the film goes on.
And more like a friend of the podcast, Matt Avery's dad.
Yeah.
As well.
But, he shaves his head almost initially, and that makes him look basically like his dad's haircut.
Yeah. He takes off his wig.
And then he starts dressing more and more like his dad. Until at the end, he basically just doesn't look like his dad.
He looks exactly like his dad, yeah.
And goes into the house, and everyone's like, everyone's there. The cops show up again, and his dad just murders both of the police officers with a shotgun.
Yeah, shoddy master here.
Yeah.
Fucking blows their asses away. And only good cop is a dead cop.
Then he gets ushered into a bathroom by his dad, and I think it's his sister who just looks like Maureen Ponderosa. And they show him a bathtub where his children are. Yes. And all you see is water, which is sort of bloody.
Yeah, it's a loose POV from inside the bathtub, kind of akin to maybe a shot from Breaking Bad, where you see this kind of bloody water and him reacting to it as if whatever's inside might not exactly be human. Yeah. So the implication is that he probably, after being raped by the blonde lady, she gave birth to freaky fish people.
So we, during Wachowski Month, thought we had found some of the biggest discrepancies between budget and earnings. Right.
Yeah.
So on IMDb, the budget is an estimated $750,000. And the total gross for this movie was $15,000.
Oh,
which is brutal.
Yeah.
Oh,
that is horrible.
Did this movie even get a theatrical release?
Apparently, it had an opening weekend where it made $1,438.
Oh,
that's like 3 people.
Jesus Christ!
Very limited release on that one.
Yeah. That's like one. Was it shown at like 2 theaters or something? Like. Wow, that's rough, boy.
Okay, so here's some. Are we ready to do a trivia part?
Let's finish the plot.
Let's finish the plot.
And then we'll do trivia and Marpito.
So spoilers for the ending. You should definitely see this movie. We've described most of it, but I think we're kind of. Our description isn't exactly what makes it good. It's kind of experiencing the film and watching it. So definitely still watch
Yeah.
it. Especially because I think us talking about these moments aren't exactly the same as watching them. And I think what this film does is actually use a lot of cinematic language to make these moments very effective throughout the film, giving you a lot of beautiful moments. But especially with this moment we're about to talk about at the end it's a climax in many ways. But definitely you should maybe pause here, watch the movie, and come back if you haven't already. But anyway, we're going to talk about the ending. So
This is one of the best endings in cinema, in my opinion.
uh-huh.
And interestingly, I'll segue into this after I describe it.
Sure.
But the main character is now full-on freaky fish cultist.
Yeah.
The scene opens with him walking out of the ocean.
Uh-huh.
There is like a kind of a scene earlier in the film where he had a vision or something that sort of shows this happening.
Mm-hmm.
But now he's walking out of the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
There are people just chained up on posts.
Yep. In the water.
Which
They're-
are supposed to heavily implied, and not even heavily implied, they are human sacrifices.
Yeah.
And
There are fish people walking out of the ocean.
yes.
And the kind of twist of this movie is that you think, and I don't know if this is the same in the book, that you think that all the freaky fish humans are going to migrate into the ocean, but in fact all the freaky fish people are coming onto land and are now taking over the world, essentially, is the implication here. And is that the same in the book, or...
Essentially, yes, and then it keeps the vagueness of... But I think it is a little... I think at the end of the Shadow over Innsmouth, he does just go back to the ocean.
Okay.
In the original.
Okay.
I think this might be a different story, but I think it's Shadow over Innsmouth.
Uh-huh.
Where he realizes that he should just be a freaky fish person, then goes and frees his cousins who were put in a mental hospital for being freaky fish people.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, no, they weren't insane, they were just freaky fish people. Let's all go live in the ocean and be immortal.
Alright.
But the last scene of this film
Yes.
is the protagonist is then walks up a dune, I guess, and his father and all the other cultists are there, and his father is tied up his partner. And his father hands the protagonist this sort of idol thing that's been... It's important to the film, but not important that we described it in any way.
It's kind of a MacGuffin, sort of like this mysterious, like, what is it, what does it mean kind of thing.
And instructs his son to kill his former lover as a rejection, as very obviously a rejection of him being gay.
Yeah.
And the last scene is just the protagonist saying nothing, but picking up taking the object and looking down at both his father and his partner, raising his hand and then just screaming
As he, like...
as he swings it down.
Begins to swing down.
Yeah. And then it cuts before you see who he actually ends up hitting.
So it's ending on this very ambiguous note of you're unclear if he is going against it and actually trying to kill his father, or has given in to being a freaky fish guy and is now killing his partner.
Yeah.
And it's such...
Very effective.
Very, very effective, and it's such, like, just a great use of editing, and just how the cut just hits you so hard.
Yeah.
And there's just this moment of silence, and then the credits start playing, and you're just like, oh, shit. Like,
And the credit music really works.
It works really, really well.
Yeah. I was thinking that. I was just, like, listening to the credit music being like, yeah, that was a really good end credit choice.
I'm actually kind of wondering if... IMDb doesn't have the soundtrack on there, so I actually had to take screenshots of the credits to get the soundtrack. I'm wondering if that final song is an original piece for the movie, because it works so well.
Yeah, I wonder.
I wonder, because it feels very 2007 of kind of this sort of indie kind of guy with a guitar kind of singing, but what he's singing about and just the kind of this, not exactly upbeat, but kind of, you see this a lot in horror movies these days, of like kind of this like upbeat song, but it's actually creepy. Like I just saw this movie recently, Heredity, that has kind of a similar kind of ending credit beat, not so much jarring, but just where it ends kind of abruptly and then starts playing kind of like upbeat music, and you're like, oh, but this, there's such more of almost like a sadness to this.
It's a very melancholy song.
Exactly.
It's a little up-tempo, and most of the chords are major, but it is a very melancholy song.
And I think it works really, really well for just kind of you sitting there in your feelings and kind of how...
It's a piece... It's actually kind of possibly a style of music. I've seen similar, almost identical feeling songs used in almost identical feeling moments.
Sure.
Where it's a song that's more about... It makes you accept what has just happened in the film, as opposed to providing necessarily contrast. It's like, yes, this horrible thing just happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
not like, oh, look at us. Here's a happy song. Because the ending was dark.
the ending was dark, so happy song. Like, no,
it's not about the contrast. It's about this forcing you to accept immediately what has happened in the film.
100%. And, I mean, I don't know. I think this is, honestly, when I think of ambiguous endings, I think this is one of the best.
Oh, for
if
sure.
not the best, because a lot of ambiguous endings end purposely of you're supposed to, like, be like, what happened? What's going on?
Think what makes it work so much is that a lot of ambiguous endings are supposed to be, and now the fans debate which ending is the actual ending.
Exactly.
And with this, the point is, it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And which is genius, in my opinion, to think what matters in this film. And it's not this decision he makes.
Yeah. And I think... I mean, I don't know. I know I personally have, I think what happened, but at the same time, you're right. It doesn't really matter, and the feeling of how the ending plays out is so much more than just which decision did he make. And I don't know, it's just...
Because it's not about him making this decision. It's about the fact that this is a decision he now has to make.
He has to make. It comes down from essentially what the entire movie is about choosing like his family or his life, and kind of if he wants to just keep on doing what he wants, but also... Because it's still, at the very beginning, it's implied that he's kind of unfulfilled. Even he left his family, he went out, he moved down to Portland or a big city, and he's like openly gay, but he's still kind of, he doesn't feel fulfilled. Like, that's why he's kind of hanging out in this town. Because if he really had like a happy life back at where he used to live, he'd just leave. He'd just be like, fuck this, I'm out. But he's clearly in this place where like he left home and then still never really found his place. And it's clearly that his place is with, like, his old crush. And, like, he wants to be with this guy. But at the same time that his family is pulling him back and be like, no, become part of our cult. And
Fucking fish people.
But at the center of that, again, and this is a little more of a metaphor, but it is a very real story about someone. Sometimes not even if you're gay, but just people who come from, like, very, like, heavily religious families. Kind of try to alienate themselves from that. Especially when, like, there are plenty of people who've then been gay and then, like, their parents don't accept that, and then they have to kind of purposely, like, really not be part of that life anymore, but they're still part of where it was that was their family, so they kind of, I don't know, it's such a beautiful ending, and it's such a effective ending just to show that, how do I say this without, I'm gonna sound pretentious no matter what, it's an effective ending, especially in a horror film, to show that you don't even really need... It's not necessarily even blood or gore or like this really spooky, scary moment. It's just you can use pretty much almost, you can just use this interaction almost, and that's all you really need to just be like, oh shit. And it just uses the film language so well, and I feel like I'm just rambling at this point. But,
no, I think you don't need blood or a scary monster or gore to elicit fear.
Exactly. That's a really good way of putting it. And I think if I have a theory that eventually Lovecraft horror movies will become mainstream, and eventually we will see, in the same way that zombies became mainstream for a period of time. Right now we're still in kind of that supernatural kind of ghost is kind of the big thing with horror right now. We're actually getting closer into slashers. Like right now the trend is kind of becoming kind of, again, darker slashers and stuff. But I think soon we will eventually get... I think there's going to be one really good one that gets really popular. Like all horror movies and like all trends in anything. There's going to be one really good one that gets really popular, and then everyone's going to start trying to do that again.
I feel like every year there's been a psychological horror film.
Sure, yeah. And I think...
But I don't know if that's
not necessarily
a sign of
Lovecraftian.
a sign of a larger trend that psychological horror is going to become more of a thing.
Sure.
Or if that's just every year we get one.
I think with psychological horror, that's such a broad kind of genre that you can really use that for whatever's in vogue. You can use that with ghosts. You can use that with slashers. You can use that with almost... Because with psychological, it's a lot, again, more about... It's less about what happens and more about how it happens. Mm-hmm. And I do agree with you. I think psychological horror has kind of always been there, especially recently. But it's also... You're right, almost like one a year. They're not frequent.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that it's the main. I would say, yeah, right.
I still was wondering, I was like, are we going to have to see an uptick, or is it always just going to be one a year?
Exactly. Like, I think it's going to be more or less one a year. I think if the movie Cure for Wellness got very popular, actually the Lovecraftian thing would have actually happened a lot sooner, because that is a movie, a pretty, compared to this, big budget movie that was taking a lot of aesthetic and kind of like storytelling aspects from Cure for... Did you see Cure for Wellness? It's not as good as this. I enjoyed it a lot. A lot of people hated it when it came out. Comparing it to this, it's not great, but I actually had a really fun time at it. It's a good, like, kind of gothic with, like, Lovecraftian elements, kind of horror to it. Mm-hmm. But I think that Lovecraftian... What I'm getting to is I think Lovecraftian horror will become mainstream eventually. But what I think a lot of it's going to happen is it's going to be, ooh, spooky, scary monster, what is it? And at the end you see...
Scary.
Spooky, scary skeleton.
So I've been looking at the reviews for this movie.
Yes.
And they're all 1 or 10 out of 10. And all the 10 out of 10 ones is... This movie's fucking great. I like it. And all the 1 out of 10 ones are, this movie doesn't understand what Lovecraft did at all. I think one of the best ones I saw is, what if Lord of the Rings had been about Sam and Frodo's gay relationship instead of being about saving the world? It's like, are you saying that Lovecraft is about saving the world? Because if you are, you're just not very smart.
Do we want to bring...
So, basically... It feels like everyone who's giving this movie a bad review thinks that Lovecraft movies should be about fighting a big alien.
Uh-huh. Do you want to bring back our famous segment,
We
Reviews?
can. Our Dread segment?
Our Dread segment. So
Sure.
You want to pull up, like, the rudest of views that you found? And...
Yeah.
Okay. Do a little
Let me find...
reading of it.
I will just say,
yes,
as someone who's extensively read Lovecraft... This is probably the closest you'll ever fucking find to a Lovecraft film.
Yeah.
I would say Morbido, a film which we might touch on, we might not.
We definitely will do an episode. I'm thinking...
We'll do an episode on it if we don't touch it.
We will, whenever you next can record, I think you're going to be our Lovecraft guest. So when next you record, we'll get Morbido as the next film.
Literally next week or something.
Then
Jack really likes it too, so we can bring Jack.
Hell, we'll get double time.
I'll be at Jack's house.
Okay, perfect.
So
then we can definitely do that then.
Kyle or Jack or something.
All right, well, definitely next... How long are you going to be in town?
Like a couple months probably.
Okay, then we got time.
Yeah.
So then we will definitely touch upon this film, because one thing that this film, watching this really made me want to do is watch Morbido again.
Yeah, I will say that Morbido is a better film in my opinion, but this actually is a closer. Obviously, like Morbido is a film that very much feels like it's by the writer and director of Morbido. Like it's very much a Chiake J. Konaka film, which if you've heard of that person, you'll know what I mean.
For anyone who doesn't, it's the guy who made the original Grudge.
It's not.
Not the other one?
It's the writer.
Oh, the writer?
Yeah.
Okay.
It feels which, it's almost like it's based off of a novel, which he wrote or something.
Yeah.
So, whereas this feels like a Lovecraft, it is the most... Yeah. It gets everything right about Lovecraft, and just takes away the racism. It's very effective.
Review.
Okay, I would say, yes, go ahead, Kyle.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. This is a 1 out of 10,
Uh-huh.
titled Where's the Lovecraft? Do we want to look at the profile afterward?
Yes, we will, but first read it.
Okay. It's called Where's the Lovecraft? And this came out like right after
Good pun. Good pun.
Okay. I am a longtime reader of H.P. Lovecraft, and I'll admit I have been disappointed again and again with film adaptations of his works. But this extremely loose adaptation of The Shadow over Innsmouth would have Mr. Lovecraft spinning in his grave. The protagonist is a gay professor who travels the long 2 hours to his estranged mother's funeral. his homosexuality takes up a disproportionately large part of the movie, and I'm not quite sure why. Does it matter that he is gay? Isn't it rather cliche and a negative stereotype to show him in bed with a street kid, and to include random Gus Van Sant-ish scenes of moody and way too clean rent boys on the mean streets of Seattle at the beginning of the film? What does that have to do with fish creatures and unutterable horror? And why is he hooking up with his straight childhood buddy halfway through the movie and indulging in a loving sex scene with lots of back patting and kissy face when he is supposed to be investigating the suspicious disappearances of the locals at the hands of an eldritch nefarious creatures? That sentence doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Why was I subjected to a scene of the two friends as teenagers jacking off together at sunset under a pier? Where's Cthulhu? It really says, where's Cthulhu? I feel like I went to go see Brokeback Beach instead of a chilling, thrilling tale of the macabre. Who cares if the guy is gay? I don't care. He can do what he wants on his own time. I just wanted to see scary stuff. Total monster screen time. This is my favorite line. Total monster screen time for this picture clocked in at about 30 seconds. Unless you count Tori Spelling. Then maybe you can bump it up to 15 minutes. Sigh. I don't know what these idiots were thinking. I won't even begin to relay the plot because there wasn't one. I read a quote from the filmmakers that said they didn't know anything about the horror genre and had no respect for it when they started this project. Well then, why did you make the film? Why choose Lovecraft to massacre? I feel like I lost 2 hours of my life yesterday.
The movie's only an hour and 40 minutes, but okay. Also,
Sorry. They've been an IMDb member for 11 years, and they made an account to review this movie.
And nothing else.
It is their only review on IMDb.
Holy shit.
They really hated it that much. Where do you even begin with that one?
Well, I can begin quite easily.
Yes.
One, this is almost, in my opinion, too much follows the shadow over Innsmouth.
Uh-huh.
Because there's parts of the shadow over Innsmouth that I thought didn't quite work,
Uh-huh.
that don't quite work in this film.
Yeah.
Like, why everyone just kind of rieting for no reason.
Yeah, that part's probably...
It's confusing in the original,
Yeah.
and it's confusing in this.
It's confusing in this. Also, I don't really know how to explain to someone...
It's a gay film.
Yeah.
The metaphor was that he's gay.
I don't know. It's like you're having a problem with what the film is about. It's like, man, I really hate that fucking Titanic movie because there's a boat in it. It's like, yeah, of course there is.
I guess I could get it if they were like, I didn't want to go see a gay film.
Sure.
This is obviously which I guess is kind of
what he's saying. He's honestly
the other thing is, fucking what pisses me off, the total monster screen time is it's Lovecraft.
Oh my god.
This is another great one.
If anything, it's too long.
Yeah, exactly.
This one's called Yet Another Non-Lovecraft Movie.
That's my favorite parody movie. Yet another
Lovecraft movie.
I really wanted to like this, especially with the glut of direct-to-video adaptations of Lovecraft stories that are essentially student project level non-movies. But this is yet another example of a film that heavily relies on Lovecraft and yet totally jettisons any real relation to the author or his works, much less the sensibility behind them. Are you promoting, hating?
Continue with
I think he is.
Yes.
It owes more to the Shadow over Innsmouth than anything, and unfortunately that world was already realized in far better, yet still in woefully inadequate fashion in Dagon. To someone who loves Lovecraft as much as I, it's rather insulting this film is called Cthulhu. There are ideas the writer and director were far more interested in, such as the main character's confused sexuality, than anything written by Lovecraft. So why not drop the illusion of being a Lovecraft adaptation and simply make the film that was there without him, since little in this film relates much to his writing? Answer? Because if you use his name and the titles of his works, you gain free publicity and legitimacy.
Yeah, that's why this movie was so
legions
popular.
of HPL fans because once again someone has made a film that seems to think its own very uninteresting and pedestrian ideas have any place mixed in with the cosmic horror of Lovecraft. And worse, viewers who don't know HPL will once again be left with the opinion that, gee, I guess he wasn't that good a writer. And with this example, you can probably add, was Lovecraft gay, to those questions. So...
was Lovecraft gay? Big thing.
big
So
thing.
big
Married a
thing-
Jewish woman.
The big thing here is...
Still a member of the Nazi Party, though.
The big thing here is that this person starts out with talking about how a lot of Lovecraft movies are terrible, and then talks about... and are, like, direct-to-video, not high-budget movies, and then talks about how this movie was trying to get free publicity...
For being a Lovecraft.
For being Lovecraft movie, which is just the... It's the IMDb logic I've come to love over the years.
Yeah.
I don't even... Again, it's like... This is another one that's 10 years, 2 reviews. Good job.
Yeah.
What's the other one? Masters of Horror Sounds Like. I have no idea what that is. Yeah. It's an episode of the show Masters of Horror. Interesting. This guy...
What a guy.
This is also 11-year-old review, so these people might be dead for all we know.
Yeah, hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah.
We made the same.
So also just, I love how the first review we talked about just... It's like, yeah, his straight friend, yep. Oh my god, yeah, I don't even... Both, and again, yeah, that's why it was so popular, is because it really tricked you all into watching this Lovecraft movie.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
This is a weirdly nice review for 2 out of 10.
Uh-huh.
It's just like, I don't think it was good, but I'm glad that he made it. I like that he's trying. It's like, wow.
Alright,
That's
fair.
like a 5 out of 10.
Yeah.
That's like, honestly, I feel like that could be a 7 out of 10.
That could be like, yeah, not for me, but yeah, good job.
Watch it if you like.
I mean, also, they're fucking rude views. Okay, any other good ones?
This movie was terrible. The DP should be shot.
Director of photography.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
What? They clearly spent no time on development, rehearsal, or scouting locations. That the producer sold his belongings to get this movie made is profoundly sad, and I hope he received treatment for whatever malady caused him to feel such fervor for this film. Uwe Boll movies might be better, and they are one of the worst films around. I was especially disappointed in Cara Buono's performance, as I have enjoyed her work before. Characters smile at inappropriate times for no discernible reason. Camera work to set the mood was complete failure and annoying in its presentation. Subplots are picked up and immediately ignored. Motivations are hazy at best. No special effects to enhance the story. Absolutely nothing of Lovecraft in this movie except the title. The highlight of this film was when I sent it back to Netflix. So I didn't know that George Lucas had an alt account on IMDb. That's cool. Oh, this guy's...
Dude's reviewing Westworld?
Conan.
Oh, the Conan the Barbarian from 2011.
And then he's just rated Westworld 9 out of 10. That's
a good indication. He's rated Sicario 8 out of 10, Westworld 9 out of 10.
760 ratings. That's impressive.
So let's look through this guy's tastes. So he seems to be a big fan of like John Hughes movies.
Yeah, he's just an 80s kid who fucking loves John Hughes.
Okay.
It's just my dad. This is just my dad.
What do you think? 9 for Avengers Infinity War.
Dude, me too.
9 for Ready Player One.
Okay, we're done.
9 for Ready Player One. I think you know what you need to know.
So this guy's mad. This movie wasn't Lovecraft enough because everyone's motivations are hazy.
Okay, I'm gonna eat it.
Because people's motivations are hazy and they're creepy. And that's not what a Lovecraft movie should do.
Not at all.
It needs more special effects.
Lovecraft, I think Lovecraft, verbose action that can only be done through digital cinematography, and everyone having incredibly clear motivation to get their point across.
Get Peter Jackson to make a Lovecraft movie. Get Hobbit Peter Jackson to make a 3-hour battle scene where they all fight a big old Cthulhu monster.
Yeah. That's the whole film. Just opens with the start of the battle,
100%.
ends with Cthulhu dead. 3 hours.
I'll watch it.
No dialogue.
That's pretty artsy.
Okay, never mind. That's too artsy.
Yeah. So
everyone just makes accounts on IMDb to fucking give this movie 1 out of 10 and then accuses all the 10 out of 10s of being friends of the director. And it's like,
this was before the days of bots, so they couldn't do that.
Do you not see how you're that in reverse?
What are some of the 10 out of 10s?
They're just like, this is a great movie. Here, let me find a beyond decent first film.
Beyond decent isn't really high praise.
Seems opinions are very extreme when it comes to this film. I also overheard conversations after the film showing at SIFF in which people said they'd have to think about the film before they offered an opinion on it. Maybe it's just me, but that seems to be an indication of good art. If people are thinking about it, talking about it, even arguing about it, it's left a far greater impression than a film that mindlessly entertains. And I am of the opinion that Cthulhu provides both cerebral and visceral fun. Yes, the film takes some liberties with Lovecraft's work. Yes, maybe the title Cthulhu is a tad non sequitur in a film that's actually about Dagon. These are minor complaints at best. The film is extremely well made, funny, and surprisingly scary in parts. Jason Cottle and Tori Spelling are great, as is the fellow who played Tori's wheelchair-bound husband. The script is engaging, and refreshingly, the politics of the anti-Bush agenda are subtle, and they're only if you want them.
That is true.
The story is the thing here, and that's what Cogswell and Gildark focus on. Cthulhu is a fragile, volatile, coming-home story first, an apocalyptic horror tale second, and thirdly, a black humorous metaphor for the regime that's currently choking the life out of
Yo!
Oh my god, that's really
The
funny.
grand old one party, indeed.
Wow, dude.
Holy
Fucking
shit.
brutal.
That's pretty great. And he's only reviewed this movie.
That's it. Everyone just reviews this
What's
movie.
the Lovecraft done right?
The best way to describe Cthulhu is Kiyoshi Kurosawa's Shadow over Innsmouth. It's a very deliberately paced movie with long, moody takes and an emphasis on character drama. The film is a complete love-it-or-hate-it affair. People expecting gore and monsters will be disappointed, but art house horror fans and David Lynch lovers will be in pure bliss. HP fanatics will argue the merits of this one, but the filmmakers are the first to nail the bizarre fever dream aspect of Lovecraft's writings.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of nightmarish imagery, and nothing is explained or resolved by the end. While this is a very loose adaptation, there are plenty of nods to the Cthulhu mythos to keep fans happy. The acting is a little uneven, and there are times when the movie feels too disjointed, but this cerebral effort is still the closest we've come to seeing true Lovecraft captured on film.
That's true.
Yeah,
And again,
I think it's a very fair review.
Yeah. And I would say that this, like, I for one, love, I love all types of horror, but I think art house horror is probably one of my favorites because, and like I said, I think if this movie came out today with maybe a little higher budget, it would be really popular.
Yes,
Because
absolutely.
I found actually in the mainstream, people are starting to, not really weird art house horror, but like kind of starting to get more into art house horror.
Mother was quite popular, wasn't it?
Mother was very divisive, but
Yeah.
a lot of people did like it. I would say every year there is one art house horror movie that comes out that gets popular. And everyone always calls it the scariest movie ever made. And it never is.
Yeah.
But it's always pretty good. Like that was Witch. This year that was Heredity. Like I said, I would say that Mother is probably last year.
Yeah.
Like there are those movies. And I usually always see them.
Aren't
I
Witch
usually...
and Heredity by the same person?
No.
People get really caught up in the fact that Cthulhu's not in the movie.
Yeah, I really was hoping he had a lead role in it. I was really bummed that he didn't.
Basically, what it is people who say 1 out of 10 is are just leading the cult against this movie. They're like, if people say this movie's good, they're fucking botting. This movie's the worst thing ever put to art. I hope this guy fucking dies in a ditch. And the people who are rating it high are like, this is a really artsy movie, and I understand why people are divided on this. I thought it was pretty good, but I can see if you didn't like it. I think we can be rational human beings who have differing opinions.
Clearly, we can't though. But
Also, I was looking up the cinematographer, and he just does a bunch of random shit.
Well, he does mostly documentaries.
Yeah, documentaries.
Which actually, I don't know. I always like when cinematographers can kind of go from documentary to.
It's nothing you're going to know.
No, it's all like super small stuff.
Yeah.
Mostly docs, but he's really good. Any
Clock they could use a quick snackety.
anything to say before final thoughts?
No.
No, I'm good.
Yeah, I guess production was hell. Yeah. Making indie movies sucks, but good on you for trying. Yeah. I wish this guy made more films after this, and I was looking at, I don't think the director's done anything after this.
No,
so.
he did the time travel film.
I don't know the director, though. Maybe the writer did?
Someone made time travel.
Okay,
film.
well,
but there's no proof that it exists other than IMDb.
Oh,
if I
Mandela
remember
effect.
correctly.
It's a fucking Shaq in Shazam kind of thing. Let me look up. Oh, a lot is happening.
That's a good Harley Quinn cosplay. I really like Harley Quinn's black hair. Her iconic black hair.
Hey, man.
Can't afford haircut dye or wigs.
Anyway, whatever. Time travel movie? Okay, that's cool. My phone just fell. Alright, guys, then. Looks like we're kind of winding down. Are we gonna make it to 2 hours, or?
No, fuck that.
Okay. So, final thoughts, guys. Who wants to go first with final thoughts? I'll go first with final thoughts
Alright.
then. So my final thoughts is, I watched this movie a year ago, had a really, really good time, and I've thought about it since, but honestly, there's a lot about it I forgot, which is why I'm really glad I rewatched it, because it has very memorable scenes, but a lot of its good is kind of subtle, so you really do have to watch it again to remind yourself what makes this movie so well made and what makes this movie so good and why it's really sucks that like no one really knows about this movie. Like, this is outside of our unreleased episode on fucking the House movie. What was it called? The one where they're all different people? Or it's Kyle. The one with the house and the dinner party and they're all the same.
Oh,
Coherence, yeah. Outside of Coherence, which we haven't released, this is probably like...
Why?
I don't like the episode, but we probably will release it someday, but or in a different dimension we will. But
Weird.
this is probably the lowest budget film we've reviewed on this podcast so far, and I mean, I would say next to something like Cloud Atlas, probably one of the most like unknown, not even hated, I would say, because I feel like that's. The people who hated it are the people who saw it right when it came out. Like, there isn't, like, a long-lasting hate, an 11-year hate for this movie.
No.
It's just, people who saw it hated it, and then it didn't get very far, and now no one knows about it. Yeah. And I feel like it's pretty sad that, I mean, pun intended, but I think this could hopefully maybe get a very good cult status if people kind of started kind of refining it. Because really the only place you see this movie ever talked about is... lists of top 10 Lovecraftian movies, top 10 inspired Lovecraft horror films.
In that regard, it has held up. People in the Lovecraft community these days do consider it a very good film.
Okay, well that's good. So like the people who were shitting on it initially kind of have quieted out.
Yeah.
Okay.
But generally, if you go to like any website, if you just search top 10 Lovecraft movies, any website will probably have this on their top 10.
Sure, totally, yeah. Which is nice. I guess I just wish...
To be fair, though, there are only about 10 Lovecraft films that look like a film, and not someone, like, shitting over a black and white camera.
Yeah. You know, I just thought about something, and this is very off topic.
Perfect.
But it kind of was just... I was thinking about the guy, Jack T. Chick, the guy who wrote the Christian comics thing. And he wrote Dark Dungeons...
Oh, yes.
Playing Dungeons and Dragons is like...
Yeah.
But in that story, the cult is summoning Cthulhu.
Yes.
Really?
But everything in that story is stuff that he actually believes. He believes that J.R.R. Tolkien wrote, like, blasphemy in his books. He believes that Dungeons and Dragons is the devil's work. Which means that this man believes that Cthulhu exists in his religious worldview.
Nice.
Which is fucking crazy to me.
That's pretty funny.
This guy's insane!
Or maybe he's the only one who can see.
JonTron said something great about him. I believe he said, Jack be nimble, Jack T. Chick, Jack be riding a crock of shit. And I think really that's...
Nice. I would like to point out that Kyle is wearing the Amazing Spider-Man 2 t-shirt that I gave him for his birthday.
Absolutely.
On our
podcast shirt.
Hell yeah. It's comfy? You like it?
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. And alright. Well then that's my final thoughts. Who wants to go next?
I guess I will.
Alright, there you go.
This is a fantastic Lovecraft film and also a fantastic gay film.
Mm-hmm.
I think part of what's made it so unremembered is that those are two very different things.
Yeah.
Now they lend themselves to each other extraordinarily well. This fear of small town life and difference lends itself very well to being gay from a small town.
Yeah.
I think what makes this film is the cinematography and the directing. Yeah. I think they very much go hand... You ever feel like one is fighting the other, or that one stands out more necessarily? They complement each other very well.
They definitely do.
And it's just a very well-made film.
Yeah.
In general.
100%.
I think it's not perfect. The soundtrack is, other than the ending song, is forgettable at best.
Like I said, I was taking snapshots of all the songs. Yeah. Because I don't know if you've ever listened to an episode, but I bookend every episode with 2 tracks off the soundtrack, and I definitely know what I'm ending with. Yeah. But to start, There are surprisingly actually a lot of tracks in this soundtrack, but they're all just like background music and like mostly like the bar or something. Like it's not, and it doesn't need to. I honestly feel like
everything needs a great soundtrack.
No, and I would say I'd rather have a film that has a great use of one song than an okay use of a lot of songs. I think that this film definitely, not even necessarily in the film, because technically it's only credits, but I think I'd rather have a film that really gets a good song and really uses it perfectly. And I like films that have like okay uses of their music, and like I like soundtracks you can listen to after the fact. But usually I think there are films that really hit that one. We're actually probably going to talk about a film later, hopefully, that also uses kind of ending credit music really, really well. But we'll get to that. The dog really wants you to pet her, Kyle. Oh, she's going for. Looks like she's kind of hitting on you actually. Going for that dick.
Okay. So I don't think the soundtrack doesn't detract from the film at all. Though you're like, oh, that music's annoying. So that's fine.
Suicide Squad style.
There's no Eminem in this soundtrack.
Unfortunately. But yeah, it's a really, 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 really good example of creating the same feeling that you get from reading Lovecraft. I think they did that perfectly. Yeah, I mean, watch it if you like Lovecraft or like good films.
Yeah. What would you say, what would you recommend a good way to get into Lovecraft's work? What would a good start?
There's a book called The Annotated. It's a bit expensive, but I mean, first and foremost, you can read any Lovecraft thing online. I'm sure there's PDFs online. But there's a book entitled The Annotated Works of H.P. Lovecraft. Okay. Which is like, I don't know, 500 pages or some shit. Okay. Huge book. And it's all of Lovecraft stories annotated. There's a biography of Lovecraft at the beginning. Explanations of a lot of what went into them and stuff. Massively interesting. That's how I got into Lovecraft. Like, really got into Lovecraft. And has all of Lovecraft's best stories and just most of his stories in general as well. So you can pick that up. The Annotated Works of H.P. Lovecraft.
Okay, that sounds...
Pick it up on Amazon or literally anywhere online. I'm sure you can find a PDF of any of Lovecraft's works.
On stories themselves, which would you say is a good starting story?
Shadow over Innsmouth. Okay. It feels just the most like a story. At the Mountains of Madness is a fantastic, but is one of the longer Lovecraft stories. And is the kind of one of the least solid in any way.
Yeah, what would you say is like his most out there Lovecraftian one?
Oh, just like really out there?
Yeah, like out there.
There's one, I can't remember its name, but it takes place in the Appalachians, and these people are just birthing giant Shoggoth monsters. And it's just unclear of what the fuck is happening.
Alright.
It's quite good. I would say the way that the Annotated Works of H.P. Lovecraft introduces the stories works, because it's not, I don't think it's entirely timeline-based.
Sure.
But I think it is semi-timeline-based. In his earlier works, I definitely feel more like Poe.
Okay.
Also, they're not as good, but...
yeah.
But I would say that Dagon and the Call of Cthulhu are good for shorter, but still Lovecraft. But I think the longer Lovecraft works are what work the best with his style, as they allow you to really experience that unsettlement throughout the whole thing.
Sure. Do you know how much gets cut in the annotated versions, or is it mostly just... Oh wait, annotated, not abridged. Excuse me.
Not abridged.
I don't understand words.
Yeah.
Never mind. It's okay. That sounds great. I might actually honestly pick that up because it sounds like it's good to help people along.
Yeah, and it provides a context for Lovecraft. It provides biography at the beginning. And it's like, he was massively racist. Yeah. It gives you a good context for when you're reading them. You kind of understand more what's happening.
Cool. There are, I think, a pretty famous graphic novel adaptions of a lot of the stories that I've been meaning to check out. I don't know if you've ever read those.
No.
That's the only one that's kind of been on my radar of like versions of it, but I might check that out because that does sound pretty cool, but that sounds very long. I have a lot of saved on YouTube like 9-hour-long audiobooks of his work. Like I have like Call of Cthulhu, like 11-hour audiobook. Yeah. There's this one website, I forget what it's called. Not a website, it's a YouTube channel that just does audiobooks of just like weird, like, old books of, like, weird old sci-fi stories and, like, pulp novels and stuff. It sounds really cool, but, like, all of them are in, like, the double digits of how long they are.
Yeah.
So, I might link that too. I do not remember what it has, but I would say if for someone maybe trying to look for, like, if you're more of an audiobook type of person, that would be probably the best way to look. Or, of course, Audible. This episode, of course, is sponsored by Audible. Use the offer code REAL to get 10% off your first audiobook. Right now, I'm reading I don't know. Anyway.
I'm reading Cheez-Its Up Your Asshole, The Secret to the Perfect Male Orgasm.
How to find his G-spot.
Yeah.
That's my favorite Cosmo cover.
Blow his mind and blow his brains out. Blow his minds and blow his wad. There we go. Kyle, you. Unless you have any final thoughts?
Not really. Watch Maribito. We'll make a whole episode
we
on
will
that.
Get to that.
So.
Kyle.
So, we were talking recently about how it's almost impossible to think of a film with, like, a good gay character in it that's not just gay, like stereotype gay. Unless it's, like, a movie specifically about that.
About being gay.
Yeah, you could argue this movie is about that, but theoretically,
most people on IMDb do.
Plot-wise, it's not.
Yeah, at least plot. It's not just a gay drama.
Yeah,
the plot, it's still got a plot to it. So, I would say this movie's worth, like, remembering just because it's one of the only movies that has a gay character who's just not, like, a huge fucking stereotype.
Sure.
Which is still pretty rare. Today.
I would say that the amount of time this film dedicates to him, like his gay relationship, is the same amount that any normal movie would to a heteronormative relationship.
Yeah.
Or more, definitely. And I think that this movie does a much better job of making me buy into this relationship than most films do.
We'll put it this way. This movie is about a gay romance in the same way that Drive is about his romance with that girl. And it's miles better than Drive is.
You got a little Jimmy Neutron hair going on right now.
Got a blast.
Anyway, yeah, totally. Any other final thoughts, or is that?
No, I don't know. I think it's worth recognizing a movie that.
100%.
Also, have you noticed that we've kind of been on an LGBT kick on this podcast?
I have been. I think after doing our Wachowskis month, we kind of got in the mood. I'm hoping the next film we do will also kind of, not as prominently as the last few movies we talked about, but also kind of feature LGBTQ plus representation. So we'll get a whole...
We're doing Futabu Club, right?
Oh, live action?
Yeah.
I haven't watched it yet. Is it good?
Yeah.
The answer's no. I've seen the screenshots. I'm like, fuck, that looks terrible. Why are we talking about this?
So, like, hopefully June will have been Wachowski's month, and July will have been just different representation month. Gay month.
Yeah.
Anyway, that it for you, Kyle?
Yeah.
All right. Well, guys,
we managed to pass 2 hours by fucking rambling on final thoughts like we always do.
We might have to pull it back with all that, cutting all that silence. But anyway, guys, if you want to catch up on all the other gay movies we've been talking about, listen to us on YouTube at Real Unknown or SoundCloud at just Real Unknown. And if you want to follow us, you can follow us on Facebook at Real Unknown or Twitter at Real-Unknown. And if you want to email us telling us about your favorite gay movies or your favorite Lovecraft movies or both, last one's probably just going to be this movie. But email us at realunknownpod@gmail.com. Anyway, guys.
Links in the description.
Link in bio. Buy that merch.
Make sure to leave a comment for a chance to get 100 free V-Bucks.
Oh, hell yeah. Make sure to leave a comment so you will go insane with the old ones and truly embrace that madness.
Make sure to leave a comment so you can also be gay.
Alright. Anyway, guys, while you slowly realize the ancient horror of the old gods and the way the world truly works,
or are just massively shocked by the current homophobia in America.
Well, that too. Either way, I hope you remember that it's been real.
Please secret magic password that you only notice when you're looking back at it. And all I wanna do is turn around. I'm going down to sleep on the bottom of the ocean, 'cause I couldn't let go when the water hit the setting sun. Passing white daisies, taking turns. Close the door, walk into the street, catching raindrops on your tongue. And for a minute it all stops, but it won't last, man. Just a passing moment gone. Slow it down. There's a secret place that I know. I could dig a grave out and climb underground for good. And all I wanna do is turn around. I'm going down to sleep on the bottom of the ocean, 'cause I couldn't let go when the water hit the setting sun. Passing white daisies, taking turns. All those evenings on the back deck of our first apartment, they meant everything, but the wind just carried them off. And you can't go back now, just a passing moment gone. Please, slow it down. There's a secret magic password that you only notice when you're looking back at it. And all I wanna do is turn around. I'm going down to sleep on the bottom of the ocean, 'cause I couldn't let go when the water hit the setting sun. 'Cause I couldn't let go of a passing moment gone.
All right, testing.
Yeah,
Testing?
this is it is indeed a test.
Yeah, I'm doing a test.
I'm not
too.
gonna look at you guys, apparently.
Oh.
I don't know why the microphone's still where it is.
I don't know why the microphone's still.
Why would I
where
move it
is.
closer to Shane? This is...
Yeah, put it as far away from me as humanly possible.
Oh god, it's the audio spikes when you're fucking opening
it's
the
really bad, dude. I'm serious.
All right. Can I open a bunch preemptive?
Why are you like this?
Because they're good.
Why do you need to eat while we're
Yeah,
recording?
you're like, alright, let's choose the one audio-only thing, and then let's just fucking eat through the whole time.
I
God.
don't see a problem here.
That's your problem.
It's fucking not my content. You can do whatever you want, I guess. It's just gonna
Damn
sound
Skippy.
like shit.
So is there like a format for Real Unknown?
Yeah, we talk about.
There's two
the movie.
formats: the solo format and the Ex Machina format.
Yeah.
So in solo format, we actually discuss something, and in the Ex Machina format, we just kind of ramble for 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Which would you prefer?
Let's just see how it goes.
Yeah,
Alright.
that's usually
It's usually how it goes. Yeah.
We might ramble. We might discuss something.
Ramby. Good old Ramby. Yeah, from Donkey Kong.
What?
Is that the rhino?
Yeah, Ramby.
Ramby Rhino.
Wait,
New
hold on.
Funky Kong Bone.
Maya,
Hi.
say something.
Maya Wolfbark. Speak.
Go. Yeah, go. She was looking at you.
Yeah.
Maya.
She's really just not having it.
Here,
Her
here.
ears look like the exact. Just bring the doorbell. Her ears look like the exact design for Mr. Peanut Butters from BoJack
Oh,
Horseman
nice.
when they go up.
Well, she's got the same sort of.
She doesn't want to do it because
She knows she's not
Just ring the
fuck
doorbell,
yeah.
dude.
yeah,
It's
I'm
the-
gonna make you bark.
Sorry, Maya, but we gotta make you bark.
I gotta make you
We
born.
gotta do the barking by the buck.
There we go.
No, it's okay. Shane,
Yes.
tell Tell me if you think this is a good joke.
Okay, I will tell you if I think this is a good joke.
Would Alucard's son be named Dracula? Because it's Alucard backwards.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's a
that's
good one,
fucking good
right?
enough for that.